What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories. 2 UC Chapter 26, Physical Instant Kill, 3/4 Chapter 26. Shino, protect the mission target, Hinata and Kiba, prepare to fight, everyone else pay attention to safety. With a serious look on Miyamoto's face, he directly made the arrangement. Hearing Miyamoto's words, Aburame, Shino and Inuzuka Tooth reacted quickly, took their positions directly, and looked seriously at the direction that Hinata said the enemy was coming from. Miyamoto doesn't know what kind of reaction Funghua Xiaoshui will have, and Miyamoto will not care about the situation of Santei-sama and the crew either. The task is to protect Funghua Xiaoshui, coming. Miyamoto's perception is indeed quite strong, even if he didn't open his eyes, it was terrible. Feeling the approach of two familiar chakra, Miyamoto opened his mouth and said, "Swish." The fat Fukuma Hale of the Yukino trio stepped on the skateboard and quickly approached. At the same time, the only woman in the trio, the wings of the chakra armor behind Crane Tsubasa Fubuki spread out, and the two faced each other like this rushed towards Miyamoto and others. Hinata, Tooth. Without making a move, Miyamoto glanced at his side. Hinata and Inuzuka, who were already waiting in full force, let them go directly. Swish. The two rushed out at the same time, and Hinata met the Winter Bear Hale. Blind eyes. Open. After making a seal, Hinata directly opened his white eyes, and made a gentle fist gesture with both hands. His eyes were quite firm, watching the Winter Bear Hale approaching quickly. Do missions with Miyamoto-kun. Not to mention fighting alongside him, at least don't let yourself be held back. Sorry, as long as I haven't fallen down, I can't let you cross this line. Gentle fist law aid trigrams 64 palms. The moment the Winter Bear Hale rushed into Hinata's attack range, the petite body carried the will to never flinch. Outrageous shot. Miyamoto took a look at Hinata's battle and broke through from the suppressed state of the Icelandic fight. In the past few days, it is obvious that Hinata has his own tactics on how to deal with the Winter Bear Hale. Don't worry, he took back himself gaze. Looking at Inuzuka on the other side, Miyamoto nodded in satisfaction after finding that it was almost the same, and didn't say anything more. When will the wind, flowers and raging waves come over? With doubts on his face, Miyamoto turned his head to look at Funghua Xiaoshui beside him, and pondered for a moment. Although I don't want to interfere with the affairs of the Snow Country, it is impossible for Funghua Futao to let Funghua Xiaoshui go. Fighting is inevitable. Miyamoto decided that if Funghua Futao appears, he will be killed directly. As for the so-called chakra armor, Miyamoto didn't pay attention at all. Just as Miyamoto's thoughts fell, the sound of the train whistle came. Miyamoto looked at the railroad track on the side of the road in a blink of an eye, and a very fast train came roaring. Shina, protect the mission target. After Miyamoto finished speaking, some flying insects flew out of Aburame Shino's body, with seriousness on his face. I understand. The train came fast and stopped very fast. After stopping in front of Miyamoto and others, like a transformer, the carriage behind the train transformed rapidly, like the muzzle of a mortar, without any difference the alignment of Miyamoto at all. Dongshang Bingai and Cranewing Chushui's expressions changed drastically, and they immediately drove away their opponents before fleeing quickly. Whizzing. The moment the transformation was completed, countless Kunai Shuriken, Fuma Shuriken and other missions shot towards Miyamoto and others like bullets. Even Fuka Koyuki was also within the attack range. Earth-style Earth Flow Wall. Without blinking an eye, Miyamoto has completed the seal, and put one hand on the ground. Boom. The earth wall rose, directly blocking Miyamoto and the people behind him, protecting everyone in it. Puff puff. Hiding behind the earth flow wall, everyone could clearly hear the sound of ninja tools being inserted into the earth flow wall. A full minute later, the earth flow wall in front of Miyamoto dissipated. Miyamoto raised his eyes to look at the train. The two of them, Dongshang, Hai, Cranewing and Fu Shui, had already gone to the side of the train at some point. Hinata and Inuzuka Teeth also returned to Miyamoto's side. What should I do, Mr. Miyamoto? Should we leave first or fight? Glancing at the sharp-eyed Hinata, Miyamoto knew that what he wanted to achieve had been accomplished. Then Miyamoto will not let go of the group of wind and flowers and raging waves. You protect Funghua Xiaoshui, and I will deal with the enemy. As soon as his figure moved, Miyamoto rushed directly to the train, and he had already appeared. The wind and flowers and furious waves wearing black chakra armor had been blown by Winter Bears, Hale and Cranewings. As soon as Miyamoto moved, Dongshang Hale and Cranewing Fushui on the opposite side also rushed towards Miyamoto. After Spike Avalanche was gone, these two people could be regarded as cannon fodder by Funghua Nu Dao. This is normal in the ninja world. Dongshang Hale stepped on a skateboard and quickly approached Miyamoto. It was obviously Dongshang Hale with well-developed limbs and a simple mind. He only knew physical skills and rushed towards Miyamoto in a daze. The moment the two approached, Donkuma Hale's fist slammed towards Miyamoto's face. You underestimate me, Miyamoto sneered. Physical skill can be said to be the highest among Miyamoto ninjutsu 3D. Konoha Gale. The body twirled and pressed down, with the momentum of lightning. Miyamoto swept down and directly kicked Dongshang Hale. Without giving a chance to react, his eyes were fixed. Shadow Dance Leaf. Boom. Click. Carrying Chakra, he kicked Dongshang Hail away. Hearing the cracking sound from the core of Chakra's armor on Dongshang Hail, Miyamoto was expressionless. He glanced at the crane wing blowing snow on the other side, and made a seal skillfully. Fire style How Long Fire Technique. Roar. The flame dragon head roared and directly swallowed the body of Dongshang Hail. While ignoring it, the seal of the second spell was over. Fire style Great Fireball Technique. Crane wing Fubuki's knot seal is completed at the same time. Ice escape Yan Shushui. Boom. The two ninjutsu clashed in the air. Crane wing Fubuki landed on a tree with doubts on his face. Where are people? Crane wing Fubuki's face was quite tense. She really wanted to know if Donkuma Hail was dead or something, and where Miyamoto was. Rasengan. Miyamoto's voice sounded behind Fubuki Crane's wing, and a Rasengan instantly condensed in Miyamoto's hand, appeared from behind Fubuki's wing, and pressed directly on Fubuki's back. Boom. The snow was blown away, and when Crane wing Chuishui's body fell to the ground, Miyamoto grabbed his collar, flicked it, and blocked himself in front of him. At the same time, a raging voice came. Ice Escape Black Dragon Blizzard. Chapter 27 The beginning of the Chunin exam 4 quarters. Chapter 27 The Black Dragon attacked Miyamoto with great power. Miyamoto had a sneer on his face, and kicked Crane wing Chushui head onto the Black Dragon Blizzard. Boom. On Miyamoto's body, the huge and almost terrifying chakra is condensed in his hands. The technique of rubbing balls learned from Kakashi has become one of Miyamoto's good hole cards, as the saying goes. There is nothing that a ball can't solve. If there is, just make a bigger one. Compared with other ninjutsu, Miyamoto paid more attention to the development of Rasengan. After seeing that Crane wing Fubuki was attacked by Black Dragon Blizzard and died, Miyamoto's face showed killing intent. Body Flicker Technique. Ninja Big Ball Rasengan. Miyamoto, who developed the instantaneous technique to ultimate, although not as fast as the time-space ninjutsu, but his instant speed is also one of the best. The ceiling is too slow, the movement is too slow, and the combat intuition is worthless. Without the chakra armor, a scum like you is just a one-stroke thing. Miyamoto's figure appeared in front of Feng Hua Nudao in an instant, and he pressed the big ball Rasengan directly towards Feng Hua Nudao's heart. An invisible resistance lasted for less than 2 seconds before it was broken directly. The big ball Rasengan slammed straight on Feng Hua Nudao's body, and the berserk force leaned on him. I will accept your life. Boom. Miyamoto doesn't care about any other effects after killing Feng Hua Fudao, but in general. This time the mission was finally successfully concluded. Although there was no Uzumaki Naruto to hide, but in the team, although Hinata talked less, with the guidance of Hinata and the joint efforts of Aburame Shino and Inuzuka Ya, Feng Hua Xiaoshui is still much better. Finally, the three of them escorted them to the place where the Feng Hua family's secret stash was, and unlocked the Feng Hua's secret treasure that Feng Hua Nudao had always wanted. When the Snow Country ushered in spring, Feng Hua Xiaoshui became the monarch of the Snow Country. The mission of the Miyamoto team, which lasted more than half a month, was also declared over. After spending this week returning to Konoha, handing in the mission, and reporting what happened in this mission, it was originally only a C-level mission, but it became an A-level mission. The 8th class no longer needs to do other tasks, accumulate experience, and get tickets for the Chunin exam. On a small platform, Miyamoto looked at the 8th class in front of him, frowning. Next, there are still a few days to spare. You three, aim at making up for the weaknesses exposed during this mission, as much as possible. Now, disband. After hearing Miyamoto's words, Aburame Shino and Inuzuka looked at each other, took a strange look at Miyamoto and Hinata, and left directly. Only Miyamoto and Hinata are left on the small platform. Naturally holding Hinata's little hand, Miyamoto reached out and rubbed Hinata's little head. In the past few days, I will help you with special training, at least to improve your strength slightly. With a little happiness on his face, Hinata blushed a little, and looked at Miyamoto with quite firm eyes. Yes, Miyamoto-kun. To be reasonable, Hinata's strength is not weak. Elite Chunin. Hinata's strength is at least at the elite Chunin level, plus the usual accumulation. Miyamoto is not worried about Hinata's other situations in the next Chunin exam, the only thing he is worried about is Hyuga Neji. Watching Hokage is when watching Hokage. Now, Miyamoto doesn't know how to evaluate Hyuga Neji. But whatever it is, Miyamoto will never let Hyuga Neji have a chance to hurt Hinata. With the passage of time, more strange ninjas with forehead protectors from other ninja villages appeared in Konoha village. A ninja like Miyamoto can clearly feel that the guard force of Konoha village has started to work. This situation also marks that the Chunin exam is coming. Miyamoto is not interested in the Chunin exam, but in the Chunin exam, the third generation will die, and then the cow chariot Tsunade, one of the Sonin, will come back. In other words, he may understand Miyamoto's purpose. Senju clan sage body. Therefore, Miyamoto will not save third generation if he dies, nor will he interfere with third generation's death. To some extent, Miyamoto hopes that third generation will die. After all, the old man no longer has that kind of ambition, and Danzo, who is secretly watching, has nothing to do with Miyamoto, but this does not mean that the old boy will not use dirty tricks. For Miyamoto, Tsunade has more benefits than third generation continuing to do Hokage. Chunin exam, Miyamoto long awaited. Miyamoto, who was training Hinata at the training ground, suddenly saw the ninja eagle hovering in the sky, with a clear color on his face, and looked at Hinata. Hinata, today's training is over, you go and inform Shino and Iba to gather here within an hour. Stopping, Hinata has some doubts. Miyamoto-kun, what happened? With a mysterious smile on his face, Miyamoto said. It's nothing serious, you'll find out later. After speaking, Miyamoto left immediately. Chapter 28 Attacking Red 1/4 Chapter 28 Just after arriving at the Hokage building, Miyamoto met Kurini Yuhi who hadn't seen much during this period. Miyamoto-kun. Yuhi Hong's eyes were full of surprises, and she came directly in front of Miyamoto with joy on her face. Long time no see, Miyamoto-kun. Do you miss me? Hearing Kurenai Yuhi's words, Miyamoto touched his nose slightly in embarrassment. Let's go up together. I don't know the reason, but since the disbandment of the three-color team, Yuhi Hong has become more and more open-minded. Such a mature and charming woman, who gives you a sneak peek, one sentence is enough to explain. Who can stand this? Following behind Miyamoto, Kurenai Yuhi recalled what Anko said to her that day. If you like it, go after it, if you don't love it, give it up. After the three-color team disbanded, Yuhi Hong thought for a long time, and had already made a decision in her heart. Not long after Miyamoto and Kurenai Yuhi arrived, third generation glanced at the people present. Everyone is almost here, let's start. I won't say more about the extra words. You should know what the Chunin exam means this time. I think my genin team is good, so I can recommend it. Just as the words of third generation fell, they stood among the elite Jonin in the front row, wearing Jonin male armor, a shiny black watermelon head, and a green training suit. Konoha's proud blue beast, Taiju elite Jonin, in the Hokage plot of the previous life, almost kicked out of the finale, and was called by Uchiha Madara the existence with the strongest physique, Might Guy. Miyamoto and Might Guy have fought against each other. To a large extent, Miyamoto's physical skills have been greatly improved in the fight against Might Guy. The Might Guy under normal conditions alone cannot compete with Miyamoto in terms of physical skills, but after opening the 8 gate, it is different. As in the original book, the Chunin exam was recommended by Jonin who led the class. Although there were some small episodes in it, it was good anyway, and the recommendation was successful after all. After leaving the Hokage building, Kurenai Yuhi still followed Miyamoto. Don't you need to tell Class 10 about the Chunin exam this time? Hearing Miyamoto's words, Kurenai Yuhi shook her head slightly. The kid in Nara's family is very smart, he knows how to do the Chunin exam. I don't need to worry about it. After Kurenai Yuhi finished speaking, she looked up at Miyamoto. It's Miyamoto-kun. Aren't you worried about your little girlfriend? What happened during the Chunin exam? When Kurenai Yuhi said, Miyamoto shook his head. Hinata's strength is not very weak, and it is not difficult to pass the exam. As long as you don't encounter certain monsters and special people, nothing will happen. I'm not worried about safety. After Miyamoto said something, he roughly recalled the situation of the Chunin exam in his mind. For Hinata today, it is not too difficult. However, Miyamoto wants to say sorry to Hinata. If Hinata does not break through his own psychology, he will not be able to pass this exam. Having said that, both of them fell silent for a while, and the atmosphere still became weird. Miyamoto knew Yuhi Hong's thoughts, and he also had some small thoughts in his heart. It is absolutely impossible for a man to say that after he has a certain strength, he does not have the idea of opening a harem. It's just that Miyamoto has lust, but not much lust. For the time being, he really doesn't know how to deal with this matter. Miyamoto-kun, shall we have dinner together in a few days? After a while, Yuhi Hong suddenly said something. Miyamoto didn't react for a moment, and nodded subconsciously. Well, no problem. Air. After reacting, Miyamoto looked at Kuroyuki and opened his mouth not knowing what to say. Seeming to have known Miyamoto's reaction for a long time, Kuroyuki bent slightly, with a smile on his face. What you promised, we must do. This is Miyamoto-kun's ninja way. It's a promise. Of course, Miyamoto did not dare to tell Hinata about the ambiguous relationship with Kurenai Yuhi. No matter whether Hinata saw something or not, Miyamoto would not take the initiative to say it. Suppressing his small thoughts, he went back to the training ground, and after finding the three of Hinata, Miyamoto gave a simple explanation with a calm face. The Chunin exam this time is different from the Chunin exam in our Konoha village. Genin teams from other villages will come to participate together. 2 other ninja village people. I don't know the specific content of the exam. Taking out the test registration form, Miyamoto said. It's not long since you graduated, even if you give up the Chunin exam this time, it's not a big deal. Although I have already recommended you, if you are confident, you will participate, if you are not confident, if you give up, I don't think there is anything. After handing the 3 forms to the 3 of Hinata, Miyamoto smiled slightly. Looking at the form in his hand, Hinata said firmly. I want to participate. Aburame Shino push glasses. Me too. I have been training myself very hard these days. His weaknesses are the most obvious, and his strengths are also the most obvious, Miyamoto said on purpose. The two have already shown their determination, and Inuzuka next, with his overly confident character, of course will not allow Inuzuka to back down. Then, all the 8th class participated. Chapter 29. The qualifiers are about to begin 2 quarters. Chapter 29. On the day of the Chunin exam, Hinata did not come to see Miyamoto. Looking at himself in the mirror, Miyamoto nodded with satisfaction. After putting on the Jonin male armor, Miyamoto went out after being narcissistic for a while. As the guide Jonin, he was naturally not the same as the examinee. Miyamoto came directly to the examination room, and at the door saw Kakashi, who was looking at the heaven of making love, and Yuhihong, 2 people. Senior Kakashi, read. With a casual greeting, Miyamoto glanced at Kakashi's affectionate heaven. Senior Kakashi really likes this kind of books. I can't complain, although everyone knows more or less that Kakashi is obsessed with Shawangshu because of some special reasons, but after so many years, it should have become a habit of reading. Hearing Miyamoto's complaints, Kakashi, who was already quite shameless, turned his head and continued watching, just a little embarrassed. Kurenai Yuhi stood beside Miyamoto. With a slight smile on her face, she waited quietly. The tacit understanding between the two made Kakashi roll her eyes. As long as you are not a fool, you can see that Yuhihong has some special feelings for Miyamoto. Asuma, who is also at the elite Jonin level, has already given up Kurenai Yuhi and did not continue to pursue it. No wonder, it has been 2 years since the pursuit and there is still no change. It is normal for Asuma to give up. The 10th class arrives first, the 8th class arrives later, and the 7th class last. After the 7th class went in, Miyamoto frowned and looked at Kakashi. The stuff in Naruto. Has become more and more active recently. Kakashi-senpai, you can't be biased because Uchiha Sasuke is Uchiha's orphan. Miyamoto doesn't want to talk about the entanglement between Kakashi and the Uchiha clan. In the original book, more or less, Kakashi has some preference for Sasuke. After putting away his book, Kakashi nodded slightly. Seeing Kakashi's reaction, Miyamoto didn't say much. What about Uzumaki? Naruto has little to do with him. There is no need to participate too much, just mention it. The Chunin exam has begun, and Miyamoto knows the next exam regulations. Miyamoto, who knew well and had great confidence in the 3 of Hinata, did not stay in the ninja school and left. After leaving with Kurenai Yuhi, Miyamoto did not resist being with Kurenai Yuhi. Facing the fish wagging their tails at you, can you still expect the cat not to steal? Kurenai Yuhi's house. Miyamoto's face showed a curious color, looked around. Kurenai Yuhi didn't care at all. The conscience of heaven and earth, Miyamoto's past and present lives combined, this is the first time to enter a girl's house. Of course Miyamoto was curious. This is. Coming to a knife block, Miyamoto's face showed doubts. On one side, Kuroyuki came to Miyamoto, looked at the kodachi on the knife holder and smiled. This katana belongs to Mr. Miyamoto. Hearing Kurenai Yuhi's words, Miyamoto touched the handle of the knife with emotion. You still have it. After taking Miyamoto's words, Yuhihong meant something. It's impossible to forget in this lifetime. Miyamoto-kun did that to me and wants me to forget it. Do you think it's possible? The corner of Miyamoto's mouth twitched upon hearing this. Hey, don't make me feel like I did something terrible to you. A little bit shy, but with a bang, Kurenai Yuhi directly approached Miyamoto, forcing Miyamoto to retreat. Miyamoto-kun, I want Miyamoto-kun to cook me a meal. Can you? The aggressive Yuhihong, which is completely different from Hinata's soft and cute demeanor, made Miyamoto a little bit uncontrollable, and his mind became hot. Eat the food I cook, but you will become my woman. When coming out of Kurenai Yuhi's house, Miyamoto left as if escaping. The tools for committing the crime were not well developed, so I watched it dryly. After the fire broke out, Miyamoto didn't know what to say, so he could only slip away first. Recalling the critical moment in his mind, Kuroyuki's weird eyes, Miyamoto felt ashamed. After returning home, Miyamoto let go of the things about Kuroyuki and Yuhi in his mind. Miyamoto was a little worried. What should he do if Hinata knew about these things about him? It's a done deal. Let's talk about what happens after this. After taking a shower to reduce the fire, Miyamoto lay on the bed, glanced at the night outside the window, and murmured. A week later, the central tower of the Dead Forest. 3rd generation, as well as Miyamoto and other Jonin leaders who passed the 2nd test class, all came here. Before starting the 3rd exam, there is still a qualifier, which will start soon. Chapter 30 and 3/4. Chapter 30 beside Miyamoto, followed by Hinata, who had been resting for about a day. It took 6 days to successfully snatch a team's scroll in the forest, relying on the 8th squad's perception tactics, successfully avoided most of the enemies, and arrived at the central tower safely. And got a day's rest time. The 8th class did not appear in any danger, which is quite good. After Miyamoto glanced at the students present, he secretly knew. A total of 8 groups who passed this test turned their eyes to the position of Yinin village on one side, and their eyes fell on Jonin, the leader of the Yinin village, the terrifying amount of chakra, and the special relationship between the strong. It's a feeling that can't be wrong. One of the Sonin, Orochimaru. While Miyamoto looked at Orochimaru, Orochimaru seemed to have discovered something. He turned his head and glanced at Miyamoto. After a strange color appeared in his eyes, he smiled coldly and looked away. Miyamoto also retracted his gaze. Miyamoto doesn't know how strong Orochimaru is, but he will basically not lose against Orochimaru, but it is also very difficult to kill Orochimaru. The horror of Orochimaru lies in its unpredictable escape technique. The #1 scientist in the world of Hokage is really not joking. After third generation talked about the purpose of this exam and the necessity of the preliminaries, the examiner of the preliminaries, Moonlight Gale, appeared. Cough cough cough. The third round of qualifiers starts now. Kidney deficiency son Moonlight Gale, pale face, feeling out of breath when speaking. Miyamoto has learned Konoha Ryu swordsmanship from Moonlight Gale before. If it is not for physical reasons, Moonlight Gale should be Jonin's strength. During the Fourth Ninja World War, Moonlight Hayate from Impure World Reincarnation, after having no physical defects, his combat effectiveness has soared to a good level. The sequence of battles is the same as in the original book. The first game is Uchiha Sasuke's. Miyamoto didn't care. After the Uchiha Sasuke battle, Kakashi took Sasuke away just like the original book, and Orochimaru also left quietly. Miyamoto's eyes only glanced at the back of Orochimaru's leaving, and after looking at the third generation above the stands, he withdrew his gaze. He won't say much. After all, Orochimaru wants to kill third generation, which is good for Miyamoto. In the second round, Aburame Shino vs. Oto Ninja Village Sack. Compared with the original book, Aburame Shino's performance in this battle is even more exciting, especially during this period of time. Although there are not many tasks, Miyamoto has indeed made the strength of the 8th class even stronger than the original book. Powerful. Aburame Shino's fight ended sooner than Miyamoto could have imagined. After seeing the battles of the previous Xiaoqiangs, Miyamoto sighed slightly. It's really weak. Although my strength is not too strong, they are too weak. Miyamoto's words did not suppress his own voice. Even if people around him looked at him, Miyamoto didn't care at all. Kuroyuki took the 10th class and stood next to the 8th class. After hearing Miyamoto's words, the others didn't say much. Kuroyuki pouted. There is still a difference between a monster and a genius. Just looking at it, everyone looked away. On the field, when the 5th battle was going on, the one who was being crushed all the time, the second girl Miyamoto had a crush on among Xiaoqiang, Tian Xiaofeng Tianshan. Using ninjas and being overwhelmed by wind-style ninjas is quite normal. It's really boring. There was a sneer at the corner of Temari's mouth. After Yuguang Galifeng announced her victory, she shook her hand and threw out the unconscious Tian Tian, who was picked up by Xiao Li. Listening to Temari's words, Miyamoto frowned slightly. A kunai appeared in his hand, and raised his hand towards Temari who was talking. Kunai with the wind attribute of Chakra was as fast as ultimate, and Temari noticed it the moment he made a move again. However, before Temari could throw out his fan, kunai had already cut off the rope of a ball head of hers. Not far behind her on the bluestone slab, a small pothole was blasted. The audience fell silent, and the eyes of the third generation above the stands shone brightly. It's improved again. All eyes fell on Miyamoto, Joninbaki of San Shinobi Village, with a solemn face. Looking at Temari staring at himself, with cold sweat streaming down his forehead. Your attack has a deeply hidden killing intent. If there is a plan, you plan to kill someone, right? Miyamoto, who had never acted aggressively before, acted strangely for the first time, staring at him. A terrifying cage-level aura erupted from Miyamoto's body. Not to mention Genin, even the Jonin who were present were sweating slightly on their foreheads. After taking a look at Temari, Miyamoto withdrew his gaze, and at the same time withdrew the threatening aura in his body. The coercion in their hearts was gone, and everyone present secretly breathed a sigh of relief. They glanced at Miyamoto who was still indifferent, and those who knew him were okay, and those who didn't know swallowed a mouthful of saliva. Such an existence makes people subconsciously ignore Miyamoto's age. Miyamoto's behavior was a little weird, not as calm as usual, which made third generation frown slightly, and looked at San Shinobi Village thoughtfully. Sensing that the third generation's eyes turned, Miyamoto sighed slightly. Third generation. How far you can perceive it depends on yourself. It's all about benevolence and righteousness. Chapter 31 Hinata vs Neji 4 Quarters Chapter 31 After several exams, there were no accidents in the 8th class, even with Miyamoto, but Inuzuka Kiba underestimates the enemy is one thing. Uzumaki Naruto this time in the battle, Miyamoto can see clearly. Outburst of Nine Tails Chakra. It is not surprising that I lost to Inuzuka who broke out the Nine Tails Chakra, or I can say that he was able to force Naruto to break out the Nine Tails Chakra. Inuzuka is much stronger than the original. Glancing at Uzumaki Naruto next to Kakashi, Miyamoto shook his head. That kind of power is really tempting, but it's a pity, it's not complete. The tail beast is not very attractive to Miyamoto, and he intends to copy 10 tails directly. Instead of looking for a Jinchuriki to copy, wait until Armageddon to grab Uchiha Madara, or Ōtsutsuki Kaguya. Then, let's move on to the next game. Moonlight Gale made an announcement, and on the big screen, unsurprisingly, the name of the opponent appeared. Hyuga Neji vs. Hyuga Hinata. After hearing who she was fighting against, Hyuga Hinata's face became tense, and she looked up at Miyamoto beside her. After waiting for a long time, Miyamoto, who was not at all interested in the qualifiers, turned pale and turned to look at Hinata. Hinata, do what you want. Even if Hinata doesn't want to fight, it's okay. There was a trace of seriousness on Miyamoto's face. If Hinata didn't want to fight, no one would care. Hearing Miyamoto's words, Hinata raised his head, and his expression and eyes showed a firm color without a doubt. Miyamoto-kun. I'm going to fight. Smiling slightly, Miyamoto nodded. Understood, then try your best, don't care about the consequences, I'm here. Looking at each other, Hinata nodded. Yes. The two sides played, compared to the previous battles that were painless, this battle is full of highlights. After all, it was a matter of family infighting. All three of them were excited, and Miyamoto looked at the two people in the field intently, with chakra flowing on his body, quite keen. Just like in the original book, Hyuga Neji was talking about his theory of destiny, but this time, Hinata's face was full of determination, and he didn't answer, but he wasn't afraid to run away either. His eyes were sharp, and there was no fear in his eyes. As Hyuga Neji said it, he knew it had no effect. Miss Hinata, it seems that you have made up your mind. Hearing Hyuga Neji's words, Hinata immediately assumed an attacking posture, his white eyes were already opened, looking at Hyuga Neji. Brother Neji. Let's fight it out. Hyuga Neji looked at Hinata with killing intent in his eyes. Miss Hinata, I can't guarantee what will happen when the battle starts. The two rolled their eyes, and after looking at both sides, Hinata's eyes froze. Ha ha. Instant attack, not like the original work, which is focused on performance, but a sharp attack without loss of advance and retreat. The strength of elite Chunin and even the special Jonin level is fully displayed. Everyone present looked at Hinata in shock. Is Hinata that strong? The Jonins don't know, but the Shaoqiang who graduated in the same class as Hinata are full of shock, especially the girls Haruno Sakura and Yamanaka Ino. Compared with Hinata, they can be remade. Hinata, you have always been so strong. Talking about his own woman, Miyamoto is very interested, with a proud face on his face. It is rare to explain to everyone. Hinata's strength, even Uchiha Sasuke, can't match. It's just because of Hinata's personality, so I rarely fight with you guys. Remember, it's not Hinata who got stronger, it's Hinata, seriously. Miyamoto's words made the Shaoqiangs look at Hinata fighting in the field with blank expressions. The attack was quite fierce, the face was firm, and Hinata, who was on par with Hyuga Neji, whom Xiao Li called the strongest genin, didn't know what to say. But make no mistake, it's all stressful. The most stressful person is Hyuga Neji. At this moment, while he is shocked, his face is distorted, and his killing intent is getting heavier and heavier. A pair of eyes fixed on Hinata, responding to Hyuga Hinata's attack. Why? Why is your attack so determined? He knows Hinata very well. In Hyuga Neji's perception, Hinata is kind to cowardly. Even if he is conscious, it is impossible to have such a fierce attack, let alone. Fighting against him is inextricable. If you don't pay attention, you may lose to Hinata's hands. Gentle Fist is so terrifying, just a single hit can instantly decide the outcome. Hinata's understanding of the Gentle Fist method between his advances and withdrawals is absolutely terrifying. Hyuga Neji has something MMP wants to say, he even wants to ask the clan's uncle. Hinata is a waste, can't bear the mud on the wall. Say Nima. However, Hyuga Neji is undoubtedly a genius. If it weren't for the dead corner of the branch house, his strength would not be beaten like that by Kitamaru. After being suppressed for a short period of time, the advantage of graduating a year earlier was revealed. Hyuga Neji played steadily and took advantage of his experience to gain the upper hand. Miyamoto frowned, and couldn't help but sigh. It's not that Hinata's strength is worse than Hyuga Neji's, but that in Hyuga Neji's heart, there is a resentment against the living clan. The power of resentment is quite powerful. When a person's heart is full of resentment, his strength will be 100 times that of the normal state. It's okay if you don't do it, but after doing it, Hyuga Neji's resentment towards the clan all these years has been vented. In this short period of time, the amplitude brought to his strength has completely suppressed Hinata. Boom. The hand holding the railing was gradually tightened. Although Miyamoto's face did not change, the twisted iron railing could show that Miyamoto's psychology at the moment was quite entangled. He respects Hinata's will, but he can't help but worry about Hinata. Chapter 32 Miyamoto's mouth escaped 1/4 Chapter 32. The Sharingan under the colored contact lenses has been opened, and the insight under the 3-tomo Sharingan is not weak at all. With the optimized Sharingan blood succession limit of Miyamoto, the insight can clearly see the flow of chakra on the two. Miyamoto's face was serious, he didn't look at the people around him, he just stared at the two people fighting, but he said. Guy, Kakashi, Red. When Hyuga Neji attacks the killer later, you three, be sure to block it in time. Otherwise, Hyuga Neji would die today. As soon as these words came out, Might Guy, Kakashi, and Kuroyuki, who were still watching, tensed their muscles, and raised their eyes to look at Miyamoto. The three of them couldn't help but look dignified. If Miyamoto makes a move, Hyuga Neji will not be able to survive, and Miyamoto will also become Konoha's rebellious ninja. This is not an ordinary blow to Konoha. Miss Hinata,
You are bound to be defeated by me, it's your fate. The situation in the arena changed. Hyuga Neji, who was swallowed by resentment and anger, seized a flaw in Hinata, launched a killer move, and directly attacked Hinata's heart. If this palm hits, even if Miyamoto is here, whether Hinata's life can be saved is still one thing. Swish 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 swish. The four figures moved in an instant. Miyamoto was originally the fastest, but when Might Guy rushed over with a green light on his body, directly blocking the direction of Hyuga Neji, Kakashi also flashed an electric light, one hand pressed on Hyuga Neji's shoulder, and Hong also grabbed Hyuga Neji's hand. As an examiner, Moonlight Gale was very embarrassed and did not arrive in time.
Is this how the Zong family is treated? 3 Jonin help her. After being blocked from the attack, Hyuga Neji spoke with a distorted face. Neji. Might Guy spoke with a serious face, but he hesitated to speak. The speed was behind Might Guy, holding kunai in his hand. Miyamoto appeared beside Hinata with a blank expression on his face, with a faint killing intent on his body. Guy. Get out of the way. Might Guy can't enlighten Hyuga Neji, and Kakashi and the others can only pretend to be aggressive. The reason why Hokage world talk can flourish is to a large extent, some people keep it clear and don't say it. So Uzumaki Naruto, who dares to speak and do, has brought his mouth to ultimate. Miyamoto is also a person who can't speak. After letting Might Guy get out of the way, he held Hinata's hand, and Miyamoto spoke word by word. I wanted to kill you. The cold and biting murderous intent, without the slightest concealment. Miyamoto himself is a very emotional person, looking at Hyuga Neji, without shy away. The three of them shot only because they wanted to protect you. If Guy didn't open the 8 inner gates, you would be a dead man. If there is a destiny, your destiny, it would have come to an end today. Then because of Hinata, your fate was rewritten. You were too weak. After saying this, Miyamoto glanced at Hinata with the head next to him, and tightened Hinata's little hand. Hinata. Let's go. Being held by Miyamoto in public, Hinata's face turned rosy to the extreme. Without fighting, Hinata has changed back to her previous shy character, but her eyes are complicated and she is blocked by a group of Jonin. With an ugly face after Hyuga Neji glanced, he followed Miyamoto and left. Looking at Miyamoto's side face, feeling the warmth from the palm of his hand. Sure enough. Meeting Miyamoto-kun is the luckiest thing in my life. No surprises. Miyamoto knew early on that it was impossible to go wrong with the order of the battles and who would advance, for a simple reason. Black box operation. Everyone in the battle list has a compulsion in their hearts. There is no problem with the plot. It has been so many years since he came to this world, and Miyamoto has long since disbelieved in the plot. In Hyuga's civil war, none other than Hinata's father and Miyamoto himself are involved. To Hinata, Hyuga Neji is a cousin, and also a good brother when she was a child. Although I don't know what happened, the cousin began to hate her, but this hatred must be faced after all. It may not be a good thing to face it earlier. The arrangement was arranged by Miyamoto, but this does not mean that Miyamoto will not have murderous intentions towards Hyuga Neji. Miyamoto, a man who broke his heart for his own woman. For Miyamoto, the next match in the central tower was of no importance at all. After leaving Aburame Shino, the only winner of the 8th class, to wait for the draw, Miyamoto and Hinata left. There is no need for enlightenment, because once enlightened, it means that this is a denial of Hinata's efforts. So that night, Miyamoto cooked Hinata a big meal. After dinner, Hinata was washing the dishes, and when he glanced at Hinata with a happy smile on his face, which didn't affect him in any way, Miyamoto's heart was burning. He reached out and hugged Hinata from behind, and Miyamoto's face was stuck on top of Hinata's small face. Hinata. Just rest with me tonight. Hugged by Miyamoto, Hinata's body was slightly stiff, and then he relaxed immediately. After hearing Miyamoto's words, his face was steamed, his face was completely red, and his voice was like a mosquito. With Hinata's promise, a smile appeared on Miyamoto's face. Hinata finally agreed to stay. As early as when Miyamoto broke through the cage level, he asked for it, but at that time, Hinata did not agree, and Miyamoto did not force it, and today he finally agreed. As for how the Hyuga clan will react, Miyamoto is not worried about this. Hyuga Hiyashi will not have trouble with a 12-year-old cage-level strong man, otherwise, after so many years, he will find out the matter between Miyamoto and Hinata blocked. So, this night was Hinata's first stay at Miyamoto's house. Of course, what happens to adults can't happen, it's just a simple stay. There are some things that Miyamoto can't do if he wants to, and he doesn't plan to do them. Even so, there are some advantages that must be fully accounted for. That night, Hinata passed out many times. Chapter 33 Konoha Collapse Plan 2 quarters. Chapter 33 In a blink of an eye, a month has passed. Because Aburame Shino was going to play the 3rd game, the 8th class did not have a mission. After Hinata stayed at Miyamoto's house on the first night, he stayed at Miyamoto's house for half of the month. This situation is not unknown, but Hyuga Hiyashi didn't say anything. After the second exam, Hyuga Hiyashi talked with Hinata, and Miyamoto didn't know what he said. But obviously, Hinata feels more attached to Miyamoto, and has stayed at Miyamoto's house many times. From this, it can be seen that Hyuga Hiyashi's attitude. Although it doesn't feel very good, At least Miyamoto himself disdains it, but seeing that Hinata is about to live with him, Miyamoto doesn't mind. After having some breakfast with Hinata early in the morning, Miyamoto originally planned to wear Jonin mail. What will happen in today's exam? Miyamoto knows very well, but Hinata doesn't.
The kimono was carefully prepared for Miyamoto. Hinata not only dressed Miyamoto well, but also dressed herself very well. Maybe it's because of her personality and Hinata doesn't like to fight. When she and Miyamoto are about to live together, she feels more and more like a housewife. Of course, Hinata did not let go of her daily practice. Generally speaking, Hinata is really a nearly perfect girl, and Miyamoto is quite happy to get Hinata. Along the way, Hinata's face was pink and shy with happiness, and she held Miyamoto's hand tightly, and the two walked towards the venue of the third exam together.
Good morning, both of you. Yuhihong seemed to be waiting for Miyamoto and Hinata on purpose. When she saw Miyamoto and Hinata, she raised her hand to say hello. Yo, Musashi. Long time no see. Not only Kurenai Yuhi is there, but Anko from the three-color team is also there. With the appearance of Kurenai Yuhi and Anko, Hinata's face turned red, but after glancing at Kurenai Yuhi, he did not let go of Miyamoto's hand, and also stood behind Miyamoto without speaking. Red, Anko, good morning. After greeting with a smile, Miyamoto's eyes fell on Anko, with a trace of worry on his face. Anko's curse seal, there should be nothing wrong, right? Hearing Miyamoto's words, Anko was stunned for a moment, then shook his head and smiled reassuringly. No problem, there is no problem with Miyamoto-kun's sealing technique. After saying this, Anko's eyes fell on Hinata with a half-smile, and then looked at Yuhihong beside him, and said pointedly. Musashi. Be careful in the Shira field. I still have a task, so I will leave first. After speaking, Anko left quickly while eating his favorite three-color meatball. The corner of Miyamoto's mouth twitched, he glanced at Kurenai Yuhi and Hinata beside him, and touched his head. So, go to the venue together. There are two beauties with different styles, one big and one small, who can stand it? When I came to the stands of the venue, I didn't have to wait long before the game started. In the first game, there was not much difference from the original book. Hyuga Neji lost. After being taken away by the medical class, in the stands, Hyuga Hiyashi left to enlighten Hyuga Neji. From now on, Hanabi should have an extra powerful bodyguard. After all, Hinata already has Miyamoto now. If Miyamoto can't keep Hinata, Hyuga Neji will also die. The exam went on in an orderly manner. In the final game, after Uchiha Sasuke and Kakashi came to the arena, Miyamoto's face gradually became serious. It didn't take long to wait, and suddenly a feather floated down in the entire venue. The next moment, many ordinary people in the auditorium gradually fell down one by one, and fell asleep. A stern look appeared on Miyamoto's face, he glanced at Hinata who had already formed seals and unlocked the illusion, and then looked at Yuhihong with a dignified face. How is this going? Kurenai Yuhi is an illusion Jonin, and his illusion ability is superb. Although it is not as good as Uchiha Itachi, there are really few people in Konoha whose illusion ability is stronger than Kurenai Yuhi. Hinata's face was tense, and she didn't speak, but put on a posture. Unlike the original book, she was not injured, and the battle was still very tough. Miyamoto-kun, what now? While speaking, Hinata had avoided several kunai that were attacking her, opened her eyes, and asked Miyamoto what to do. With a calm face, Miyamoto said lightly, Hinata, take Hanabi to the shelter, leave the rest to us. Hearing Miyamoto's words, Hinata nodded. Yes, Miyamoto-kun, please be careful. After speaking, Hinata activated the body flicker technique and left directly. Miyamoto and Hinata are very similar to each other in character, and they are full of trust in their other half. After Hinata left, Miyamoto loosened his clothes. Miyamoto looked up at the chaotic venue in front of him. Konoha's ninjas had already fought against the invading Sand Ninja and Sound Ninja. Swish 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 swish. One after another figures appeared around. Kakashi, Guy, Asuma and other Jonin have been surrounded by the invading ninjas. Miyamoto and Yuhi Kuro, as the famous Jonin of Konoha, are naturally no exception. Red, prepare to fight. Miyamoto's face sank, and he activated the body flicker technique. Swish. Miyamoto has always insisted on a one-hit kill. As soon as he made a shot, the body flicker technique was played to ultimate, killing one person instantly. When the surrounding ninjas were slightly distracted, Kurenai Yuhi completed the seal in an instant. Where are you looking at? Multiple magic tree-bound kill. As the voice fell, saplings grew at the feet of the 5 or 6 ninjas who surrounded Miyamoto and Yuhihong at the same time, restraining them all. Miyamoto snapped his fingers, a ninjutsu like Baki killing Moonlight Hayate. Wind-style windblade. Puff puff. The invisible windblade instantly cut off the heads of the people who had been hit by the illusion. Miyamoto looked expressionless and glanced at the summoning giant snake that had appeared in the leaves. Hong, be careful, leave the big snake outside to me. While talking, Miyamoto has already moved towards the place where the summoning snake is, and glanced at the battlefield between 3rd Hokage and Orochimaru in a blink of an eye. Miyamoto shook his head. 3rd generation is old after all. It's a pity that the things of the dead cannot be copied, otherwise I wouldn't mind saving the 3rd generation.
While speaking, he glanced at Sand Shinobi who was blocking the way. Miyamoto's face was calm, and he killed them all with one move. Because he was wearing colored contact lenses, his gaze did not change the slightest from the beginning to the end. Except for Hinata, Miyamoto didn't tell the secret of color contact lenses even to Yuhihong. Coming close to the first serpent. Boom. With one foot on the roof, under the action of Chakra's eruption, Miyamoto's figure jumped high.
Water-style water-severing wave. Chapter 34 Jiraiya 3/4. Chapter 34. Water-style water-severing wave. Miyamoto learned this S-level ninjutsu from the Book of Seals, and his strength and contribution are enough. The water-severing wave, which can even cut off the clone of the divine tree, directly cut off the head of this giant snake without any accidents. The appearance of Miyamoto made all the ninjas present look happy. Miyamoto-sama, the strongest Konoha Sanshiki. Hearing the names of the ninjas, Miyamoto didn't pay attention. After taking a look at the two giant snakes that had been staring at him, he waved and said, "Leave it to me here, and you go to support other places." This is a world where strength is the most important thing. Miyamoto's strength is real, and his status will naturally rise. Although he does not hold real power, it doesn't matter. Just enough strength. After hearing Miyamoto's arrangement, the ninjas responded and left one by one. Miyamoto looked at the two giant snakes on the opposite side, and frowned slightly. Summoning ninja. It is impossible to say that you don't want summoning beasts, but Miyamoto doesn't want ordinary summoning beasts. What he values more is the immortal art among the three holy places of summoning beasts.
This is something that has to be learned. Forget about Mount Myoboku, Apprentice Jiraiya or something, Miyamoto has no such plan. What Miyamoto fancy is Wetbone Forest. When Tsunade comes back, Miyamoto will definitely copy Tsunade's Senju family sage body, after which he should be able to get the summoning of Wetbone Forest. Swish. After thinking about these things for a while, Miyamoto moved quickly and activated the body flicker technique. With his strength, he could kill the two giant snakes without any problem. The problem is what method to use. No matter what, this is the interior of Konoha after all, and there will be some bad things after all. While Miyamoto was attacking, a voice sounded. Ninja summoning. Pressing table technique. A super large toad that was no smaller than a giant snake fell from the sky and directly suppressed a giant snake. Miyamoto glanced at the man above Toad's head. The aura emanating from his body made Miyamoto feel a sense of crisis in his heart. This is also a cage-level strong man, and among the cage level, he is definitely the top strong man.
Toad Sage Jiraiya, one of the Sonin. The idea flashed by. Miyamoto attacked the giant snake head-on. At this moment the giant snake opened its mouth, trying to swallow Miyamoto in one gulp. Ninja Massive Rasengan. Miyamoto's voice sounded, and Jiraiya on the toad's head froze for a moment, looking at the big ball Rasengan in Miyamoto's hand, which was about the same size as the summoning snake's mouth, with a smile on his face. Boom. The power of the massive Rasengan is of course strong. Needless to say, just by touching it, the big snake's head was smashed to pieces, and a big hole appeared on the street. After solving the summoning giant snake, Miyamoto turned over a few times, landed on a roof, and looked up at Jiraiya on the toad's head. Similar to the impression in my mind, this is the first time Miyamoto and Jiraiya met. While Miyamoto was looking at Jiraiya, Jiraiya looked at Miyamoto. I have become a cage-level master at the age of 11. Ninjutsu genius with all attributes, physique genius, illusion master. Can the omnipotent civilian genius ninja be the successor of the will of fire? A smile appeared on Jiraiya's face. The above is the full evaluation of Miyamoto by third generation. From this, it can be seen that Miyamoto's reputation in the village in recent years is still very good. With a smile on his face, Jiraiya looked at Miyamoto. Little ghost, are you the captain of Konoha Sanshiki? Miyamoto nodded. Miyamoto didn't take Konoha Sanshiki to heart. Miyamoto didn't know when this name came into being. But with it, there will be, and it is somewhat similar to the legendary Sonin, but compared to the famous Sonin in the ninja world, Konoha Sanshi is obviously not enough. I'm going to deal with the enemy, Master Jiraiya, don't be idle. Swish. After finishing speaking, Miyamoto left directly. For Jiraiya, Miyamoto admired Jiraiya in his heart, but that was all. Seeing Miyamoto's departure, Jiraiya frowned. Well, the character is just like what the old man said, cold on the outside and hot on the inside. After speaking, Jiraiya's face showed a dignified color, looked in the direction of the venue, and ran over directly. There is a kid here, so don't worry, old man, you have to hold on. If the war continues, there will be no winner in the third generation, and Sand Ninja and Odonin's attacks will not stop. With Miyamoto's strength in this battle, it is like a wolf joining a herd of sheep, and no one can stop it. Konoha's front line was tense due to the sudden incident and the need to arrange for evacuation. After Miyamoto used multiple shadow clone techniques, there was no big problem. Counting the time, after suppressing the attacks of Sand Ninja and Otonin, Miyamoto saw that the four purple flames had disappeared in the direction of the venue, and at the same time, Sand Ninja also sent a signal to retreat. You guys stay here, I'll go to the venue to have a look. After giving orders to the Konoha shinobi present, Miyamoto left the battlefield and headed for the examination venue under the awe-inspiring eyes of everyone. When Miyamoto arrived, Jiraiya, Kakashi, Kurenai Yuhi, Asuma, and some Anbu, all clenched their fists tightly, stood in front of third generation's corpse. The Konoha collapse war is over. Third Hokage, fall. Looking at the dead third generation, Miyamoto had a rare look of sadness on his face. It must be said that it is a kind of sadness to die at the hands of one's own disciples. Kurenai Yuhi came to Miyamoto's side, stretched out his hand to hold Miyamoto's hand, didn't say much, just held it. Tightening Kurenai's hand, Miyamoto said softly, "Hong, I won't let you have an accident with Hinata." Chapter 34 Cage Level Strength is known 4 quarters. Chapter 35. 3 days later, the burial of the third generation was over. Hokage building, all elite Jonin, including Miyamoto, Yuhihong, plus 2 Konoha elders Mitokado Homura, Udatane Kaharu and Jiraiya, one of the Sonin.
High-level and influential people basically gathered in the conference room to discuss. In such a situation, Danzo did not appear. Miyamoto knew the reason without thinking. But it's not bad if Danzo doesn't appear. Miyamoto, as the 2 masters of the Hokage system, is more threatening than Kakashi. If Danzo is there, maybe he will do something. Don't think there is anything. Miyamoto thinks very openly. If you want to blame, you can only blame yourself.
Although the strength is strong, it is not strong enough to crush all conspiracies. Weakness is the original sin.
Miyamoto is bound to get the Senju clan sage body on Tsunade. With the power of his cheat, getting Tsunade's sage body will 100% promote the evolution of the bloodline. The awakening of wood style is inevitable. Of course, in order to exert the power of wood style, sage body needs it, but the most important thing is the power of Yongdun. Surging vitality is the performance of Yongdun. From the current point of view, the vitality in Miyamoto's body is also very strong, but it cannot reach the level of first generation. Integrating the sage body of the Senju family, it should be enough to awaken, and then. Plus Ashura's chakra, Miyamoto believes that his wood style will not be worse than the big pillars, on the contrary it will be stronger. Copying cheats, since you can infinitely optimize your own blood power, Miyamoto doesn't think that under such circumstances, his future will be limited to super shadows, or limited to the 6 paths level. Looking up at the many ninjas who were discussing the next thing, Miyamoto's face showed a bored color, and he didn't care about such things at all. Miyamoto-kun still doesn't care about these things as usual. With a smile on Yuhihong's face, he said, "Is this really good? Miyamoto-kun should be the strongest in the village right now." After hearing Kurenai Yuhi's words, Miyamoto showed a smile on his face, and glanced at Kurenai Yuhi. "No, I'm not the strongest person in the village now, and it's not my turn to say anything. Besides, discussing such things, it is better to go to patrol the streets." When Miyamoto said this, Kuroyuki nodded approvingly, and at the same time the two fell silent, waiting to see what happened. The meeting continued as before, and all the issues were brought up for discussion, and the final issue naturally fell on the one that everyone was most concerned about. The 5th Hokage, who will be in charge? The Hokage consultants, Minato Huyin and Udatane Kaharu looked at everyone with serious faces.
Now Konoha's strength has been terribly low. Under such circumstances, the most urgent thing to do is get ready for the possibility of a bigger crisis. Bold actions by neighbors who don't know where and when. Therefore, before Konoha's strength is restored, we are going to mobilize leaders from various parts to solve this matter, and before that, Konoha needs a trustworthy and powerful leader. There is a basic policy. We need the 5th Hokage right now. Speaking of which, a large part of the people present became active, looking at the 2 Hokage consultants with fiery eyes. Hokage, for some people, is simply a fatal temptation.
But Jiraiya is here, and the eyes of these people are just fiery. For those present, with Jiraiya here, Hokage doesn't even think about it. Ignoring everyone's gaze, Mitokado Homura's face was serious. During the emergency meeting with the Fire Nation daimyo before this meeting, "Jiraiya, we have decided to choose you as the 5th Hokage." Jiraiya didn't want to be Hokage at all, and she was extremely firm. Even Mitokado Homura and Udatane Kaharu, who said it was a decision, were the same. Around the issue of 5th Hokage, this meeting has not been finalized.
Miyamoto is so bored that he wants to imitate Hinata and play with his fingers. For Miyamoto, this kind of thing is simply torture.
Definitely not a politician's man, Miyamoto. Perhaps because of 3rd Hokage, after Jiraiya refused for a while, he suddenly turned his head and looked at Miyamoto, who was playing with his fingers indifferently. After thinking about 3rd generation's evaluation of Miyamoto, he suddenly motioned for everyone to be quiet, looking at Miyamoto with a serious face. Konoha not only has Sonin, but also Sanshi. Compared with me, who has been wandering in the ninja world for a long time, the captain of Konoha Sanshi is more suitable. He undoubtedly has the strength of Kage, and the qualifications to become Hokage. Miyamoto obviously didn't expect Jiraiya to say that, pondered for a moment, and looked up at the crowd. Jiraiya, who is at the top of Kage level, said that Miyamoto has the power of a shadow, and everyone looked at Miyamoto with respect and seriousness. Elite Jonin and shadow are 2 concepts. The 2 complete concepts can be called the existence of shadows. There is no doubt that they are at the top of the ninja world in terms of strength, ability and aura.
Crushing most ninjas, one person can bury the existence of an army of ninjas. Shadow is indeed a terrifying existence for ninjas at the current stage. Sorry, I don't want to do Hokage. Accepting everyone's gaze, Miyamoto looked indifferent. My way of ninja is to do what I say. I once promised my most beloved person that it is enough to live a happy life with her. Hokage or something, forget it. Most importantly, Sonin, is there not one more person? After the words fell, everyone was taken aback for a moment, and then recalled a certain heroine. With a smile on the corner of his mouth, Jiraiya looked at Miyamoto and recalled the words of third generation. This child Musashi is good at everything, but unfortunately he has no desires. Probably the only thing we need to pay attention to is not to let his fetters be cut off. Even Hokage has no desire, and the last bit of worry about Miyamoto is dispelled in Jiraiya's heart.
The meeting passed without pain and nothing was discussed. In the end, Hokage of the 5th generation fell on Tsunade, one of the Sonin. The premise is that Jiraiya can get Tsunade back. After the meeting, Miyamoto wandered around the street, and Hong had something to do in class 10, so he left for a while. Shopping is shopping, but the main purpose of Miyamoto is the 3 incomprehensible figures of the Uchiha family. Uchiha Itachi, the existence that Miyamoto has long wanted to meet. Closing parenthesis. Chapter 36 Yuha Hong. I want one for 2. 1/4. Chapter 36. Yuhi Hong's face was serious, looking at the 2 people in front of him, with cold sweat streaming down his forehead. After meeting the 10th class, Yuhi Hong originally wanted to meet Miyamoto, but met Kakashi on the road, and after getting a hint from Kakashi, she followed the 2 people in front of her alone. S-rank renegade, Uchiha Itachi and Hoshigaki Kisame.
To be honest, Yuhi Hong was already scared at this moment. Hoshigaki Kisame may not be afraid of her, but as Konoha's ninja, Kurenai Yuhi cannot have any understanding of Uchiha Itachi. On the contrary, Kurenai Yuhi is afraid because of his deep understanding.
Uchiha Itachi. Holding kunai in her hand, Yuhi Hong looked at Uchiha Itachi very cautiously, and said in a deep voice. You, who killed a whole family of compatriots, dare to come back, you really have the guts. Uchiha Itachi hadn't spoken yet, but Hoshigaki Kisame beside him said playfully.
Are you an acquaintance of Mr. Itachi? Then let me introduce myself. Kurenai Yuhi looked at Hoshigaki Kisame. No need, I know you too. Hoshigaki Kisame, the S-rank rebel from the land of water. Slightly surprised, Hoshigaki Kisame looked at Kurenai Yuhi. Huh? You know quite a lot, so, please teach me a lot in the future. Kurenai Yuhi didn't answer this question. Having been by Miyamoto's side for so long, Kurenai Yuhi knew very well what a concept of cage level is. Not to mention Hoshigaki Kisame, Kurenai Yuhi knew that she was definitely no match for Uchiha Itachi alone. As for the big talk like Asuma in the original book, saying that I will kill you now, Kurenai Yuhi can't say it. Miss Hong. Long time no see. Uchiha Itachi greeted, pondered for a moment, and said. Please leave me alone, I don't want to kill you.
Although she knew she was no match, Yuha Hong also had her own pride, so she couldn't just retreat like this. His eyes sank slightly, and Yuhi Hong's strength was much stronger than the original book, so he could clearly feel the gap, holding kunai in his hand, and did not attack rashly. Feel sorry, I can't pretend that I didn't see it. After all, an S-rank rebel appeared in the village. I don't feel at ease if I don't know your purpose. The atmosphere began to gradually chill, and fierce murderous intent reverberated among the 3 of them. Boom. Swish. As soon as the dust stirred under his feet, Hoshigaki Kisame rushed out in an instant, swung the broadsword Samahata in his hand and smashed towards Yuhi Hong. Boom. Samahata hit the ground, and the huge force immediately caused a small pothole to appear on the ground where Yuhi Hong was just now. Hoshigaki Kisame looked up at Kurenai Yuhi who jumped up, and grinned. It's amazing. Konoha's female ninjas shouldn't be underestimated either. But. That's it. As soon as Hoshigaki Kisame's words fell, his body jumped up instantly, and the big sword Samahata slashed towards Yuhi Hong. Boom. Samahata successfully hit Yuhi Hong's body, but Yuhi Hong exploded like a group of petals. Illusion Sanju Sakura. Kurai Yuhi appeared beside Hoshigaki Kisame, and the kunai in his hand cut towards Hoshigaki Kisame's throat with a cold light. Faced with such an attack, Hoshigaki Kisame directly sealed, a body replacement technique avoided Kurenai Yuhi's killing blow, and retreated to Hoshigaki Kisame's side, with a sneer on his face. It's really dangerous. I didn't expect Konoha to have such a master of illusion besides Mr. Itachi. The contemptuous attitude in my heart has disappeared, and the master already knows the general idea with a single move. Kurenai Yuhi is indeed a master who can pose a threat to Hoshigaki Kisame. The illusion is the strongest, and the physical skills are also very strong under the training of Miyamoto. The fighting skills are worthy of elite Jonin.
Tisk. One blow didn't work. Feeling that Hoshigaki Kisame had already become vigilant, Kurenai Yuhi was a little disappointed. Sure enough, none of the S-level traitors are easy to deal with. The 3-color team has done many missions to behead rebellious ninjas, including S-level rebellious ninjas. With Miyamoto, it would take a lot of effort. Without Miyamoto, Yuhi Hong doesn't think she can win Uchiha Itachi and Hoshigaki Kisame. His gaze flickered slightly, and Yuhihong closed and opened his eyes, making up his mind. Uchiha Itachi, Hoshigaki Kisame, bet on my shinobi and stop you. With a serious face in Yuhihong's body, the flow of chakra accelerated, staring at Hoshigaki Kisame and Uchiha Itachi. Hoshigaki Kisame looked at Yuhihong with a serious face. Mr. Itachi, the next move will determine the winner. Uchiha Itachi, who had been watching, frowned slightly and didn't say much, but the Sharingan in a pair of eyes had already come out, looking at Kurenai Yuhi. Whoosh whoosh. More than a dozen kunai mixed with shurikens were thrown towards Uchiha Itachi and Hoshigaki Kisame. Yuhihong's face sank, and he directly sealed. Multiple magic tree binding kill. At the same time as the printing was completed, before Kurenai's figure disappeared, Uchiha Itachi and Hoshigaki Kisame blocked all the kunai and shuriken. When the two blocked the shuriken kunai, the ground suddenly propped up a tree root, directly restraining the two in place. At the same time, the figure of Kurenai Yuhi emerged from the trunk. Hoshigaki Kisame and Uchiha Itachi, there is a person on the head of both of them. This is the end. The kunai in his hand stabbed towards Uchiha Sasuke and Hoshigaki Kisame at the same time. However, Uchiha Itachi's face remained unchanged, and he raised his head calmly. 3 Tomo Sharingan looked at Kurenai Yuhi, and his pupil power was activated instantly. The next moment, the scene changed. Kuroyuki's body was bound by her illusion. Not only Uchiha Itachi, but even Hoshigaki Kisame stood in front of her unharmed. This is illusion rebound. Oops. Uchiha Itachi has no expression on his face, and the kunai in his hand mercilessly kills Kurenai Yuhi. Boom. A burst of white smoke flashed, and the expressions of Uchiha Itachi and Hoshigaki Kisame changed at the same time. Shadow clone. Bang bang bang. The 3 shurikens that were originally scattered around the two of them suddenly turned into Yuhihong, and the 3 kunai rushed towards Uchiha Itachi at the same time. However, quack quack quack. Uchiha Itachi's body turned into a group of crows, and a strong gust of wind hit in front of Kurenai Yuhi. Boom. In a hurry, he could only shield his body with both hands, and the broadsword Samahata directly sent Yuhihong flying and landed on the river. When looking solemnly at the shore, the figure of Uchiha Itachi sounded behind her. As expected of the red pupils, Miss Hong, you have become stronger. But, it's a pity. Kunai stabbed at Yuhihong without any hesitation, and only then did Yuhihong turn his head. Kunai was about to fall into Yuhihong's pupils. Chapter 37 Mangekyo Sharingan 2/4 Chapter 37 Ding. Sparks flew, and a kunai blocked Uchiha Itachi's attack. A figure who was slightly shorter than Uchiha Itachi just protected Yuhihong behind him, and looked at Uchiha Itachi calmly in front of him. Miyamoto-kun. Yuhihong's face relaxed a little, looking at Miyamoto who stood in front of her, her eyes were touched. Saved by Miyamoto again. This scene is quite similar to that mission back then. Looking at Uchiha Itachi in front of him, Miyamoto's face was rarely full of fighting spirit, and under the cover of the color contact lenses, 3 Tomo Sharingan slowly rotated. Have heard the name for a long time. Uchiha Itachi. The river is flowing quietly, and the breeze is blowing. It is obviously a sunny day, but at this moment, full of chills. Miyamoto's spiritual will was unprecedentedly focused. 3 Tomo Sharingan and Uchiha Itachi looked at each other, and they could clearly feel the oppressive force from the Sharingan. Miyamoto finally understands why Mangekyo Sharingan is so high in the Uchiha clan. The captain of the 3 colors? I have known you for a long time. Uchiha Itachi's face was calm, without any fluctuations, watching Miyamoto speak in a deep voice. Miyamoto didn't answer Uchiha Itachi, but watched quietly. The eyes of the two were sharp at the same time, the hands of the two were touching, the same movement, the same seal, using the other hand to form the seal. Jonin has basically mastered it, but under normal circumstances, he dare not use it, especially when facing a master. But both Uchiha Itachi and Miyamoto obviously dare to play with their lives. At the same time the seal was completed, Miyamoto pulled Yuhi Kuren with one hand, and flew back with Uchiha Itachi at the same time. Fire-style Great Fireball Technique. Fire-style Great Fireball Technique. Boom, boom. 2 huge fireballs bombarded the water surface in an instant, causing a big explosion. After one move, Miyamoto's empty hand seals. Water-style Water Dragon Bomb Technique. Suddenly, a water dragon appeared in the river, roaring and killing Uchiha Itachi, its mighty power. Seeing Miyamoto's action, Uchiha Itachi stared. One-handed mudra. Water-style Water Dragon Bomb Technique. Boom. Once again the two ninjutsu were evenly matched. Miyamoto frowned, and after landing on the water, Miyamoto put down Kurenai Yuhi and made a gesture. Kurenai Yuhi nodded and stared at Hoshigaki Kisame. The same ninjutsu can't tell the winner. Itachi. Miyamoto showed seriousness on his face, and after saying something. Boom. The surface of the water exploded, and the next moment Miyamoto's figure had come to Uchiha Itachi. Konoha Fluid Technique. Fighting Uchiha Itachi, Miyamoto is really not sure, the illusion that is hard to guard against, the superb fire style that comes at hand, the powerful body technique, and the Mangekyo pupil technique. Uchiha Itachi is the most difficult existence among the opponents that Miyamoto has encountered at this stage, not one of them. Once the two fought against each other, their physical skills, which were invincible against other enemies in the past, had no way to gain any advantage over Uchiha Itachi. Miyamoto kicked it out with one kick. Uchiha Itachi 3 Tomo Sharingan accurately saw Miyamoto's attack and did not retreat. One hand blocked Miyamoto's attack. On the other hand, kunai directly penetrated Miyamoto without the slightest hesitation. Heart.
Crash. The body penetrated by kunai suddenly turned into a puddle of water, and Uchiha Itachi frowned. The Sharingan who didn't hide it from me. Without waiting for Uchiha Itachi to think too much, the figure of Miyamoto jumped out of the river, his eyes were sharp, and the blue chakra ball in his hand was condensed. Rasengan. Miyamoto rushed towards Uchiha Itachi without hesitation, and the Rasengan in his hand exuded a sense of crisis. However, in the face of this sudden blow, Uchiha Itachi's face was calm and emotionless, and then Miyamoto's face changed, and Uchiha Itachi looked at each other and made seals with their fingers at the same time. Burst. Boom. The two waves of air surged, and the river suddenly felt cut off by the explosion. After the explosion, Miyamoto and Uchiha Itachi stood facing each other, their faces were cold and pale. Detonate Shadow Clone. Miyamoto and Uchiha Itachi detonated the Shadow Clone at the same time just now, the feeling is absolutely amazing. Miyamoto thought he was a ruthless person, but Uchiha Itachi is obviously a wolf, much stronger than him. From Uchiha Itachi's face, it can be seen that this guy should be used to the Shadow Clone explosion. But after fighting for so long, Miyamoto is not without gains. Copy selection. Choose 1, the Mangekyo Sharingan.
Choice 2, Magic Yang Hang Technique. Choose 3, Shuriken Manipulation Technique. Faced with such a choice, Miyamoto didn't hesitate, with a smile on his face.
I choose 1. An extremely huge pupil force rushed to Miyamoto's eyes. His body fused with the new blood of the Uzumaki family sage body and the Sharingan blood, releasing about 1/5 of the current chakra of Miyamoto's total chakra. At the same time, a larger vitality emanates, and the most intuitive feeling. Miyamoto can clearly feel that his body is stronger, and at the same time, his resilience is also stronger. This feeling was only for a moment. After Miyamoto's eyes closed for a moment, he opened them again, and his vision became clearer. The 3-point jade that was originally under the contact lenses was spinning at a high speed, and finally slowly condensed into a brand new Mangekyo Sharingan pattern. Chapter 38 Breaking Through Tsukuyomi 3/4. Quote. As expected of a ninja who bears the name, this strength is indeed very strong. The two looked at each other for a while. Uchiha Itachi said something, and the 3 Tomo Sharingan in his eyes slowly turned, condensing into a big windmill Mangekyo Sharingan.
But in front of these eyes, you have no chance. Just after Uchiha Itachi finished speaking, the scene in front of Miyamoto changed directly. It was blood red, boundless, and the only things that could be seen were Uchiha Itachi holding a knife in front of him, and a full blood moon in the sky. The complexion changed, and Miyamoto felt the terrifying pupil power imprisoning his spirit, which was far above his 3 Tomo Sharingan. This is definitely not an ordinary Sharingan, a pupil technique that can resist. Looking at Uchiha Itachi in front of him, Miyamoto looked quite calm. Is this the strongest single-body illusion, Tsukuyomi? Uchiha Itachi didn't speak, but looked at Miyamoto. The world of Tsukuyomi is a spiritual world, and everything here is a state of mind. Something Miyamoto hides, nothing hides. Looking into Miyamoto's eyes, Uchiha Itachi's tone finally had some ups and downs. Mangekyo. Sharingan. Are you of the blood of the Uchiha clan? Miyamoto didn't answer. Watching Uchiha Itachi, the Mangekyo Sharingan pupil power that belonged to him, burst out unreservedly underscore. Click, click, click. The Tsukuyomi world gradually collapsed, and Miyamoto's spirit also gradually withdrew from the Tsukuyomi world. Miyamoto's eyes and Uchiha Itachi's eyes were always looking at each other, and there was no escape. Boom. Huh. Tsukuyomi's world collapsed, and Miyamoto suddenly let out a muffled grunt, because it was the first time that the unskilled Mangekyo returned to the 3-god jade state. Taking a breath, Miyamoto looked up at Uchiha Itachi without saying a word. Uchiha Itachi looked at Miyamoto with a blank face and bloody tears streaming from his right eye. You were very good. While speaking, Hoshigaki Kisame, who is known as the Tailless Beast, immediately walked to Uchiha Itachi's side and looked at Uchiha Itachi. Itachi-san. What should we do now? Although the outside world is just a moment, but Hoshigaki Kisame, who has experienced Tsukuyomi, obviously knows something. After taking a deep look at Miyamoto, Uchiha Itachi closed his eyes, and the Mangekyo Sharingan in his eyes was closed. The movement just now has already attracted a lot of people. I am not sure that I will kill the 3 colors in one blow, so there is no need to waste time and energy here. Kisame, let's go. After explaining casually, Uchiha Itachi left without looking back, but his brows were wrinkled. Although he didn't fully use Tsukuyomi, but the ability to break through the world of Tsukuyomi, only Mangekyo Sharingan of the same level. Miyamoto Musashi, Mangekyo Sharingan, the captain of Konoha Sanshiki who has only sprung up in recent years and became famous in the ninja world.
How did it come about? Uchiha Itachi and Hoshigaki Kisame both left, Karaini Yuhi and Miyamoto didn't stop them. Miyamoto-kun, are you alright? Yuhi blushed with worry. At this moment Miyamoto's face was paler than before, and his breath became more disordered. Shaking his head, Miyamoto showed a tired look on his face. I'm fine, just now I was hit by Uchiha Itachi's illusion, and I'm a little tired. Hong, take me home to rest, and then you give the information to Kakashi. Uchiha Itachi's purpose of returning to the village. A legacy of the fourth Hokage. Opening his eyes, Miyamoto could feel his hand being pulled, and turned to look at Hinata who was sleeping soundly beside the bed. Looking at it like this, he should have come here after he fell asleep, maybe he heard some news from Yuha Hong, so he didn't bother him all the time, and just dragged himself to sleep like this. Turning over slightly, Miyamoto looked at it like this, Hinata who was asleep was really cute, and what Hinata did for herself now, although it seemed insignificant, moved Miyamoto the most. Brushing the hair around Hinata's ear, Miyamoto lowered his head and kissed Hinata's face lightly. After being kissed by Miyamoto, Hinata's little head moved, and he raised his head, and after looking at Miyamoto in a daze, his eyes showed surprise.
Miyamoto-kun, you're awake. Smiling slightly, pinching Hinata's tender cheeks, Miyamoto said. Well, I'm awake. The next moment, the fragrance smelled, and Hinata hugged Miyamoto directly, with her head in her arms.
Miyamoto-kun. You must be safe. Miyamoto was taken aback for a moment, then gently wrapped his arms around Hinata's slender waist. Miyamoto spoke calmly. Well, I promise you. After hugging tenderly like this for a while, a smile appeared on Miyamoto's face. After this sudden behavior, Hinata was stunned, her small face turned red at a speed visible to the naked eye, her eyes had already started to circle, and she was about to faint. Hinata, don't get dizzy, or I'll get angry. Hearing Miyamoto's words, Hinata, who was about to faint, trembled slightly, regained consciousness, and looked at Miyamoto. Miyamoto-kun, I can do it. Looking at Hinata, who was flushed and trying not to faint, Miyamoto smiled slightly.
I have something nice to tell you. While speaking, Miyamoto reached out, took off the contact lenses from both eyes, and looked at Hinata.
Sharingan. Eyes closed and opened, the three-tomo Sharingan emitting red light emerged, and then under Hinata's gradually surprised eyes, the three-tomo Sharingan slowly rotated, and finally formed the shape of Mangekyo Sharingan. This is. Hinata can no longer be shy. Miyamoto has the Sharingan thing. Hinata knew about it a few years ago, and I heard Miyamoto say Mangekyo Sharingan. The Mangekyo Sharingan that Miyamoto-kun said. Nodding in acknowledgement, Miyamoto put the contact lenses back on. Well, it was just opened today. Hearing Miyamoto's words, Hinata put his arms around Miyamoto's waist and smiled.
Miyamoto-kun, congratulations on becoming stronger again. Chapter 39 Infinite Copy 4 Quarters Chapter 39 After getting bored with Hinata for a while, because it was already dark and late at night, I simply hugged Gen Hinata's pillow and fell asleep. In the morning of the next day, Miyamoto fully recovered. After waking up, he took a look at the absence of people around him, and sensed the familiar Chakra in the kitchen. Miyamoto knew that Hinata had woken up. The hibiscus tent warms up the spring night, and the king will not go to court early from now on. Sure enough, the days of ease are the easiest to lead bad people. Miyamoto smiled slightly, stood up, and after washing up, Miyamoto once again saw his Mangekyo Sharingan clearly, which was different from any pair of Mangekyo in memory. Copy cheat, much more powerful than I imagined. After Miyamoto pondered for a while, in the past few years, Miyamoto's understanding of his own cheats is not very deep, but he has already had a preliminary understanding. First of all, when copying the 3 types of ninjutsu moves, you can only copy to what extent the copying target understands. If you want to become more powerful, you need to practice yourself. Secondly, in terms of copying talents, such as the chakra control talent that Miyamoto got from Hinata, it is an advanced level. However, among the top 12, Haruno Sakura's control talent is the only top level one, so after copying, it covers the advanced level. In addition, in terms of chakra attribute talent, Miyamoto has copied the 5 series. There is no division of high and low levels. It can only be said that after copying, it is easier to master the ninjutsu of the series you have, and you can exert greater power. The above copy is quite satisfactory and has no special features, but the following is different. Blood succession boundary, Miyamoto roughly divides it into 2 categories. First, innate bloodlines, such as Uchiha Sharingan bloodline, Uzumaki family sage body, Senju sage body, Hyuga white-eyed bloodline, etc., are not copied directly from the other party's bloodline, but blended into Miyamoto's own body. That is, the Sharingan bloodline, the sage body bloodline, is used to optimize Miyamoto's own bloodline. And Miyamoto copied Uchiha Itachi's Mangekyo Sharingan, not to get Uchiha Itachi's Mangekyo Sharingan, but to promote his own blood evolution and open his own Mangekyo Sharingan. Second, the blood successor boundary obtained from the acquired fusion, when copied, is just like the previous ninjutsu. Therefore, Miyamoto seldom copies non-bloodline bloodlines, because the most important help of copying cheats to Miyamoto is to promote the sublimation and evolution of Miyamoto's bloodline. This is what Miyamoto initially learned. Unlimited copies.
After receiving the news that Jiraiya and Uzumaki Naruto had left Konoha to find 5th Hokage Tsunade, Miyamoto thought that he would not have anything to deal with in the recent period. And it is normal for Miyamoto, as a Kage-level strongman, to stay behind in the village. I thought it was rare to have a two-person world with Hinata, because when Jiraiya directly broke Miyamoto's strength, Hyuga Heihachi talked to Miyamoto in private. The content is roughly the matter between Hinata and him, and I nodded in agreement, hoping that Miyamoto will treat Hinata well.
So during this period of time, Hinata has almost stayed at Miyamoto's house, taking care of Miyamoto's diet and daily life, and has become more of a housewife. However, under Miyamoto's request, Hinata's strength has not fallen behind. On this day, Miyamoto was sitting cross-legged at home, motionless, making his own breath and natural breath reach a state of balance. According to Hokage's method of sage practice, Miyamoto has already planned to start practicing sage. Even now that he has opened Mangekyo Sharingan, his strength has improved. After Tsunade returns, he copied the sage body of the Senju family in awakened wood style. The strength is safe and secure to enter the peak of Kage level. However, if you want to enter the super Kage level, it is basically impossible for a while. The reason is not Miyamoto's blood and talent, but Miyamoto's age, which is the biggest problem that limits Miyamoto's strength. Next, Uzumaki Naruto will travel and practice with Jiraiya for 3 years. During these 3 years, Miyamoto has already arranged his own plan. When Uzumaki Naruto returns, Hayate is born again, and the big changes in the ninja world begin again. If the plan goes well, Miyamoto will probably
be a legend. However, this plan requires considerable strength. Miyamoto's current method to enhance his own strength is Shanjutsu. After a long time, Miyamoto withdrew from the practice of perceiving nature chakra, and turned to look at the door of his small courtyard. After Kakashi knocked on the door, he walked in directly. Yo, how leisurely you are. Musashi. Seeing Kakashi walking in, Miyamoto nodded and didn't say much. For Kakashi, Miyamoto regards him as a friend. After all, in the early stage, several important ninjutsu of Miyamoto were either copied or learned from Kakashi.
Ms. Kakashi, please use tea. Hinata, who was originally in the room, brought 2 cups of tea after hearing Kakashi's voice, put them in front of Miyamoto and Kakashi, and retreated obediently. With impeccable etiquette, Kakashi glanced at Miyamoto strangely, thinking of Kurenai Yuhi, but didn't say much. Musashi, this time, I have one thing to ask you for. Hearing Kakashi's words, Miyamoto's eyes flashed, and he looked at Kakashi.
P.S. This is chapter 39. Pictured, Miyamoto's Mangekyo pattern. Book reading fun on Friday. Recharge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity time, April 29th to May 3rd.
Chapter 40 Senju Sage Body 1/4 Chapter 40, how far is it?
The speed was very fast. Carrying Kakashi's summoning ninja dog Parker in his hand, Miyamoto stopped on the trunk of a giant tree for a moment. Miyamoto's face was calm, and he looked at Parker in his hand in a blink of an eye. After being led by Miyamoto and sticking out the dog's tongue, Parker took a breath. Keep going. The breath is still ahead. Boom. A gust of wind took all the leaves away, and Miyamoto's figure had disappeared, and he quickly rushed towards the direction Parker pointed out. The mission received by Kakashi: support Jiraiya and protect Uzumaki Naruto. There is definite news that Orochimaru, one of the Sonin, is also looking for Tsunade Haim, a medical master. Although the plot has been known for a long time, Miyamoto did not refuse this task, because Miyamoto's plan is to get Senju Sage Body first. Get Wood Style, Pamphlet Street, Castle Town. One of the Sonin, Orochimaru, who had just attacked Konoha, and his most loyal subordinate Yukushi Kabuto, and in front of them stood 2 women. Absolutely hegemonic boobs, white and beautiful blonde beauty, a little red in Sonin, a diamond-shaped imprint on the brow. Everyone in the ninja world needs to be honored as Tsunade-ji, the only member of the Senju clan, Tsunade.
And her entourage, Jonin-level medical ninja, Shizune. Whether it is Tsunade or Shizune, there is no clear official statement. Their surnames are Senju and Kato.
Biting his own finger, Orochimaru sneered, looking at Tsunade, who was trembling with fear from the blood in front of him, exuding a weak, pitiful and helpless atmosphere, and said with a sneer. It is true that I am very weak now, but we also know Tsunade's weakness. After finishing speaking, Orochimaru's face showed the color of the overall situation, and when he was about to leave with a sneer, Orochimaru and Yukushi Kabuto suddenly changed their expressions and jumped directly to the other side. Boom. As expected of Sonin, even though he is weak, his vigilance is still strong. Miyamoto held Parker, who was about to vomit, in his hand, and withdrew his hand from the ground, and a huge deep pit appeared. It is conceivable that even Orochimaru felt uncomfortable with the attack just now. Parker, find Naruto and bring them to me. After placing Parker on the ground, Miyamoto looked up at Orochimaru and Yukushi Kabuto, who had already stood on the wall. Be quick. Having said that, Miyamoto glanced at Tsunade and Shizune, who were trembling, and said helplessly. It's not that simple to fight one of the Sonin while protecting 2. Parker glanced at Miyamoto and left without any hesitation. When Parker left, a sneer appeared on Miyamoto's face, and he looked up at Orochimaru without saying a word.
The appearance of Miyamoto was obviously beyond Orochimaru's expectation, and Yakushi Kabuto's face was even more dignified. Master Orochimaru. This is the captain of Konoha Sanshiki's team, Elite Jonin. If he is strong, he will probably be at the level of Shadow. Hearing Yakushi Kabuto's words, Orochimaru had a sneer on his face, and instead of answering Yakushi Kabuto's words, he looked at Miyamoto. Konoha Tricolor. The younger generation is awesome, Mr. Miyamoto, you are fine, but today is not the time to play around, let's go. The level of Shadow, this evaluation alone is enough for Orochimaru to pay attention to it. Orochimaru, who was in poor condition, did not intend to fight Miyamoto now. After saying this, a puff of smoke enveloped the two of them, and after dissipating, the two of them had disappeared. Miyamoto frowned. Reverse summoning technique. Orochimaru and Yakushi Kabuto slipped away, leaving Miyamoto with no opponent even if he wanted to fight. Turning his head, Miyamoto looked at Shizune and Tsunade. His eyes were more on Tsunade. Legend has it that Sonin is a big fat sheep in the gambling world. And finally, the sage body of the Senju clan.
At night, lying on the bed, Miyamoto raised his hand, made a seal, fixed his eyes, and spread his hand. After a flash of green light, a small seedling grew out of Miyamoto's palm. The smile on his face gradually enlarged, and Miyamoto didn't make a sound. After removing his chakra, the sapling in his palm naturally dissipated.
Feeling the surging vitality in his body, and the intuitive feeling that his body has become stronger, Miyamoto smiled slightly. For the time being, his wood style is still quite weak. After his bloodline is completely integrated with the sage body of the Senju clan, the real power of wood style can be displayed. Don't worry about this, Miyamoto knows it well. And what Jiraiya and Tsunade say, Miyamoto doesn't care. However, Miyamoto is not worried. This generation of Ashura chakra successors has the most powerful mouth escape ability in history. Miyamoto has seen Uzumaki Naruto's mouth, and the silly but extremely contagious power of Uzumaki Naruto, which can invisibly affect the people around him. It is indeed powerful. This should be the halo of the protagonist in the legend. Time flies, and in a blink of an eye, a week has passed. Tonight is the last night of the bet between Uzumaki Naruto and Tsunade. If nothing unexpected happens, Tsunade should drug Jiraiya tonight. As for whether he will take defensive measures against himself, Miyamoto is not worried about this issue at all. A good night's sleep today, Sonin's sundering battle tomorrow. Miyamoto may be late, but never absent. Chapter 41 Wood Style Wooden Dragon Technique 2 Quarters. Chapter 41. Bang bang bang. Early the next morning, Miyamoto was awakened by a loud knock on the door. Opening the door, Jiraiya, supported by Uzumaki Naruto and Shizune, looked at Miyamoto. Musashi. Emergency. Seeing Jiraiya like this, Miyamoto knew that Jiraiya was drugged by Tsunade. Looking at Miyamoto's slightly weird and puzzled eyes, Jiraiya's face showed a hint of embarrassment, and then he spoke seriously. There's no time to explain. Musashi, go after Tsunade. Under the leadership of Tsunade's pet pig, a group of Miyamoto and 4 quickly ran in the direction of Tsunade. There is no worry on Miyamoto's face. Although Miyamoto doesn't believe in the plot of the original novel, Tsunade will definitely be Sonin. Even with blood phobia, his combat effectiveness cannot be underestimated. Over there, just arrived in the open area, the 4 of Miyamoto saw the scene where Yakushi Kabuto was going to attack Tsunade at the same time, while the 3 of Jiraiya exclaimed. Miyamoto's eyes were fixed. Lightning style lightning instant. Stab it, a blue thunder flashed, and Miyamoto's figure rushed out like a bolt of thunder and lightning. Boom. Steadily catching Yakushi Kabuto's hand, Miyamoto squatted slightly, and the 3 Tomo Sharingan under the colored contact lenses slowly rotated, releasing a small illusion, which stunned Yakushi Kabuto for a moment. Wait for him to react. Konoha Goken style shadow dance leaf. Bang bang bang. Like a leg made of fine steel, it kicked Yakushi Kabuto 3 times in a row. When Yakushi Kabuto was kicked away, Miyamoto also jumped up and stared. Miyamoto fluid art cannon fist. The huge chakra was condensed on the fist, and one punch bombarded Yakushi Kabuto. The next moment chakra exploded, and the huge power made Yakushi Kabuto fly back to Orochimaru's side directly. He opened his mouth and spit out a big mouthful of blood. He couldn't crawl for a while. Woke up. The Jiraiya trio arrived after Miyamoto knocked out Yakushi Kabuto. Seeing the scene caused by Miyamoto, Uzumaki Naruto felt normal, but Shizune was a little shocked. So fast. Jiraiya took a breath and looked at Orochimaru. Musashi, be careful, it's Orochimaru. Regardless of Shizune and Uzumaki Naruto, the difference from the original book is that this time Tsunade's medicine is a little bit fierce. Jiraiya only has a little chakra on her body now, and there is no way to fight at all. Apparently, Jiraiya knew about this situation, so he was reminding Miyamoto. I know. After saying that he knew, Miyamoto raised his hand and looked at Orochimaru with a serious face. Orochimaru's mental state at this moment is much better than that of the previous week. Looking at Miyamoto, and then looking at Yakushi Kabuto who was barely able to stand up beside him. The blood on your hand came just right.
Miyamoto's gang fist style is indeed powerful, but Yukushi Kabuto's medical ninjutsu is also very strong. After a short self-healing, he has been able to stand up. After hearing Orochimaru's words, Yukushi Kabuto looked at Miyamoto with a stern look. He was obviously injured by Miyamoto, and he was very annoyed. I understand, Lord Orochimaru. After smearing the blood, Yukushi Kabuto put on a serious face, and directly sealed. Ninja summoning technique. Boom. 2 giant snakes were brought out by summoning. Yukushi Kabuto and Orochimaru stood on the heads of the snakes, condescending, and looked at Miyamoto and others with a sneer. Generally speaking, the strength of summoning beasts is not weak. Looking at the 2 giant snakes in front of them, the 3 of Jiraiya all looked serious, waiting for something. Miyamoto, however, did nothing. After a while, seeing that Miyamoto still didn't respond, Jiraiya's eyes fell on Miyamoto, and he couldn't help saying, Musashi, could it be that you don't know the summoning technique? Nodding indifferently, Miyamoto looked up at Orochimaru above.
As you said, I do not have a summoning ninja, but...
Boom. The ground on which he was standing exploded, and a huge chakra full of Yangtun vitality burst out. Miyamoto's face was serious, and he turned his head to look at Tsunade, who was still trembling. A large amount of chakra gathered on Miyamoto's body. Wood style. With a loud shout, it attracted the attention of Tsunade, who had lost his mind. The eyes of Orochimaru and Yukushi Kabuto were full of disbelief, especially Orochimaru, who was staring at Miyamoto. Under the gaze of everyone, Miyamoto's eyes are full of confidence, and the huge and terrifying chakra flows. Wooden dragon technique. Rumble. On the opposite side, a lifelike wooden dragon broke through the ground and roared at Orochimaru silently. At this moment, Miyamoto was standing on the head of the wooden dragon. Jiraiya's eyes widened, her face full of horror. Shizune is not much better. Uzumaki Naruto doesn't know the meaning of wood style, and looks enviously at Miyamoto standing on the dragon head. So handsome. Much more handsome than Boss Toad.
Tsunade lost his mind, looked at Miyamoto's back, recovered from the state of hemophobia, and looked solemnly. Grandfather's wood style, why would he? Could it be that? Regardless of the shock of others, Miyamoto's face showed satisfaction. With his strength, it is not difficult to see the wood style ninjutsu on the Book of Seals. I only know about seals, without the wood style blood inheritance limit, it is useless at all. It is for this reason that Miyamoto knows the seal of wood style ninjutsu. However, due to the reason of just awakening, the ultimate move has not been developed yet, but it is not a problem to get a wooden dragon out. It's pretty good to have this achievement in a week. After all, Miyamoto has no system and can only develop it by himself. After feeling it for a while, Miyamoto stared. Orochimaru, let's fight. Aha! Pushing chakra, Miyamoto bent forward slightly. Roar. After the silent dragon chants, the huge wooden dragon slammed directly towards Orochimaru. The terrifying body that is so huge that it can restrain 9 tails, the power of the wooden dragon technique is definitely not that simple. Oops.
Pocket. Orochimaru's face showed a solemn color, and he glanced at Yukushi Kabuto in a blink of an eye, his body flashed, and the 2 jumped away at the same time. Boom. Smoke and dust rose everywhere. Orochimaru and Yukushi Kabuto fell to the ground and looked towards the smoke. Fire style Howlong fire technique. Wind style great breakthrough. Miyamoto's voice came to mind, and then the terrifying dragon head flame combination wind style, even more terrifying, directly devoured Orochimaru and Yukushi Kabuto. Boom. In a huge pit of tens of meters, the body of Orochimaru was burned to ashes.
Chapter 42 Lei Shun Body 3/4 Chapter 42 The scene in the pothole made Miyamoto frown slightly. Suddenly, his eyes were like torches, and he jumped up violently. Yukushi Kabuto stretched out his hands from the ground, and at the same time he grabbed it to no avail, he jumped out. Ninja Chakra Scalpel. Follow up with Miyamoto's shadow, and cut down with one blow. Boom. After the white smoke passed, Miyamoto's body turned into wood. Yukushi Kabuto's eyes changed, and he looked behind him. Miyamoto's hands were a little thunderous. Lightning-style Chidori sharp gun, stab, stab, puff. Chidori sharp gun directly penetrated Yukushi Kabuto's body. Miyamoto turned his gaze to the other side. Orochimaru has already fought Jiraiya, even without chakra, but it is Sonin who briefly blocks Orochimaru. Snapped. With both hands together, Miyamoto's eyes were fixed. Wood-style laughing Buddha Jutsu. Boom. A moderately large hand broke through the ground from behind Orochimaru and grabbed Orochimaru. What? After Orochimaru was shocked, he was directly slapped into the soil by the wooden hand. Swish. Back in front of Jiraiya and the others, Miyamoto's face was serious. Naruto, Shizune, protect the 2 of them. Really, facing such a strong enemy, you actually lost the chain. Playing Orochimaru was not because Miyamoto was not strong enough, but simply felt disgusted. No one has this life-saving technology. After giving an order, Miyamoto looked at Yukushi Kabuto's side, and Orochimaru's had come out of the mud. Just now, I really couldn't kill Orochimaru, this guy is too disgusting. People are disgusting, and ninjutsu is also disgusting. Musashi-kun. You are really strong, wood style is very strong.
While speaking, his eyes sized up Miyamoto's body, and he did not hide his greed. He wants a wood-style body more than a Sharingan. Don't look at me with that look, it's disgusting. Miyamoto frowned and said, a pervert guy, fancying his flesh, which makes Miyamoto's ass tight.
Orochimaru didn't mind Miyamoto's words, but looked at Miyamoto. Musashi-kun, are you interested in cooperating with me? I have the wood-style secret technique of first generation here, which can let you show your wood style.
With a sneer, Miyamoto looked at Orochimaru. Others don't know it, but I know it very well, Orochimaru, no need to say more, except the trick. After the words fell, Miyamoto's face became serious. The body flicker technique was launched, and after a flash of lightning, Miyamoto came to Orochimaru. Konoha bad rock rise. Leaning in close, Miyamoto's shoulders were all over Chakra, and he punched Orochimaru hard. So fast. The lay body flicker technique developed by Miyamoto dares to claim that Konoha is the strongest when the space-time ninjutsu is not available. Orochimaru didn't react to this momentary move. Boom. There is no doubt that Orochimaru was directly blasted by this blow. While flying back, he opened his mouth and spat out, and the blade of Kusanagi sword quickly rushed towards the center of Miyamoto's eyebrows. Imprinted instantly, Miyamoto's chakra poured into the ground. Wood-style wooden ingot wall. Ding. Miyamoto's wood style is far from being comparable to Yamato's half-baked one. It is for this reason that the sharpness of the Kusanagi sword still cannot break through Miyamoto's defense.
With a serious look on his face, after the wooden ingot wall was untied, 4 statues suddenly appeared behind Miyamoto. Wood-style wood clone. The 4 clones stood side by side, forming seals at the same time. Miyamoto looked at Orochimaru. This is the end, Orochimaru. 5 escapes Dalian ball technique. Boom. In the hands of Miyamoto, an S-level ninjutsu of a small Iceland was bombarded. The power exerted by Miyamoto with all his strength is definitely not a joke, and Miyamoto is not Jiraiya and Tsunade, so there is no possibility of being merciful. The terrifying fluctuations caused by this move are even greater than those caused by the wooden dragon technique just now. The ground has been overturned, and smoke and dust are everywhere. After a while, Miyamoto's figure jumped back from the smoke and dust in front of the 3 of Jiraiya. Escaped. Just 2 words, Miyamoto did not have any surprises.
Jiraiya pondered for a while, nodded, and turned to look at Miyamoto. Except for Uzumaki Naruto, the other 3 looked at Miyamoto with serious faces. Miyamoto is more serious about wood style than Orochimaru. Musashi. Jiraiya looked at Miyamoto with seriousness on his face. Have you also transplanted cells from first Hokage in your body? Knowing that there would be such a question, Miyamoto looked at Tsunade, raised his hand, and chakra, full of Yongdun vitality, condensed out. After feeling the Tsunade of this chakra, I was stunned.
No. This chakra, it is impossible to transplant cells, this is blood inheritance limit. While speaking, Tsunade looked at Miyamoto with soft eyes. Tsunade's explanation undoubtedly illustrates one thing. The wood style of first Hokage is reproduced on Miyamoto's body. Jiraiya looked at Tsunade, then at Miyamoto, confirming one thing. One of Miyamoto's parents is definitely a descendant of the Senju clan, that is to say, Miyamoto can also be regarded as a member of the Tsunade clan. Wood style is different from Sharingan, because Uchiha Madara and Senju Hashirama have different images and status in Konoha, so after getting wood style, Miyamoto can show it and enhance the connection between himself and Tsunade. Because of the existence of Miyamoto, the war between Sonin did not reach a break. But one thing didn't change. Tsunade escaped from Uzumaki Naruto and finally agreed to return to the village as 5th Hokage. The problem of hemophobia is perfectly solved just like the original work. But Miyamoto could feel that part of the reason for Tsunade's return to the village was in himself. After knowing that Miyamoto's wood style is awakened, Miyamoto still feels Tsunade's vague concern for Miyamoto. Unlike Yu Hihong's caring, the caring she feels is the caring of her elders. After feeling Tsunade's concern, Miyamoto decided. He won't have any trouble with wood style. Chapter 43 Tsunade takes office 4 quarters. Chapter 43 After returning to the village, Miyamoto was completely immersed in the improvement of his strength. Since copying the sage body of the Senju family, Miyamoto can clearly feel that his physical fitness is becoming stronger and stronger every moment, which also means rapid increase in strength. These are the real wood style secrets. Closing the scroll in front of him marked with the clan crest of the Senju clan, Miyamoto's face was full of exclamation. What is recorded in this scroll is not other things, but belongs to the god of ninjas. Senju Hashirama's wood style secret technique, which includes the descending of the flower and tree world, wooden golem jutsu, true several thousand hands, and Dingshang Huahong. These are Senju Hashirama's truly unsolvable wood style ninjutsu. As for the Hokage sealed book, the most powerful is only the wooden dragon technique performed by Miyamoto before and after the birth of the tree realm. Also, those wood styles used by Yamato. Entering the palace wood style is really what it says on the sealed book. Senju Hashirama is not qualified to be called the god of ninjas at all. This favor is a bit big. Miyamoto smiled slightly and put the scroll away. Tsunade. Sure enough, she is much, much better as Hokage than third generation. If it was the third generation project, he might not even show him the sealed book, but Tsunade gave himself the wood-style scroll directly. This is the difference. Although it is very possible that Tsunade regards himself as a descendant of the Senju clan and treats himself favorably as a descendant, but this kind of favor is nothing to say. Miyamoto-kun. I'm back. Just after Miyamoto put away the wood-style volume, Hinata, who had just gone out to buy vegetables, came back. Recently, Hinata has almost completely moved into Miyamoto's house. The two have lived together and lived happily ever after. In the kitchen, Hinata washes the dishes while Miyamoto handles the dishes. Looking at Miyamoto's back, Hinata's little face is full of happiness, and being with Miyamoto makes her feel more and more happy. But after looking at it for a while, Hinata suddenly thought of Kuroyuki, Miyamoto's teammate, his own rival, a mature and attractive rival. Hinata's eyes were a little weird. Miyamoto, just now, on my way back, I met the 10th class who came back from a mission. I invited Sister Hong to my house. F***K. Hearing Hinata's words, the smile on Miyamoto's face froze, and he turned his head mechanically, looking at Hinata with his head down. Miyamoto felt his neck cool down. Hinata, how to explain this? In all fairness, although Miyamoto is not an emotional idiot, but in dealing with such things, Miyamoto has no good way at all. Originally, I planned to procrastinate, but now it seems that I can't. After pondering for a while, Miyamoto gritted his teeth, and after putting down the things in his hands, Miyamoto looked at Hinata with a serious face. Hinata, Hong, like you, is the most precious treasure to me. I swear, I bet my life, and I will never let you get hurt. Hinata. Before Miyamoto finished speaking, Hinata suddenly raised her head and stood on tiptoe. Her pink lips kissed Miyamoto. Her face was full of shyness and pink. After 10 seconds, Hinata lowered her head and played with her fingers. Miyamoto-kun. As long as Miyamoto-kun doesn't leave me, anything is fine. Hugging Hinata, Miyamoto just wants to say at this moment. If you get a wife like this, what more can a husband ask for? At the door, Kuroyuki had a happy smile on her face. After hearing Miyamoto's words, she opened the door and walked in. There is no better day than this, and the day when you enjoy the blessings of all people is the most comfortable. Half a month later, the appointment document for the 5th Hokage has come down, and nearly half a month after returning to Konoha, Hokage's inauguration ceremony is finally about to be held. Early in the morning, I stood in front of the face and let Hinata tidy up my clothes. At the same time, I put on a white shirt with fire characters embroidered on the vest. Miyamoto's shoulder-length hair and handsome face. No matter how you look at it, he is a proper big handsome guy. Okay, Miyamoto-kun. After tidying up, Hinata looked at Miyamoto and nodded with satisfaction. As for the external image, Miyamoto actually doesn't care that much, but I have to say that Hinata really cares about Miyamoto's affairs, and she really deserves to be the most virtuous wife candidate. With a light kiss on Hinata's forehead, Miyamoto took the initiative to hold Hinata's hand. Hinata, let's go. When we came to the Hokage building, many people had already gathered here. When the golden couple Hinata and Miyamoto appeared, all eyes fell on Miyamoto. Most of them are full of respect, while a few are eyes of blessing. In the past few years, Miyamoto's reputation in Konoha has been good. It is normal for the villagers to look in awe. It is also normal for ninjas who are not strong enough to respect Miyamoto. And the blessings are some ninjas who are familiar with Miyamoto. For example, Anko, who came to Miyamoto's side at the moment, as well as Kakashi and others. Kurenai Yui is also there, which is about the same position as Hinata, half a body behind Miyamoto. Those who don't know think that it is Miyamoto's three-color captain's identity, while those who know what Kurenai Yui means. But anyway, no one said much. After all, this is someone else's business, and this is also Yu Hihong's choice. No one can stop it. Jonin communicate casually among each other, and each has its own small group, and the genin are naturally chatting. Everything seemed to be going well, and Miyamoto didn't think it was a big deal. About an hour later, the feeling of seeing each other almost every day during this period appeared on the rooftop. Wearing a Hokage imperial robe and a Hokage hat on his head, he has a serious face and long golden hair fluttering. 5th Hokage Tsunade's inauguration ceremony officially begins. Chapter 44 Seeking Tensegan 1/4 Chapter 44 There's a small waterfall in the back of Konoha village, which is where Naruto learns summoning technique from Jiraiya in the original book. Miyamoto sat cross-legged on the water, his whole body motionless. Practicing immortal jutsu, after getting wood-style ninjutsu, Miyamoto did plan to sign the summoning scroll of Webbone Forest. But in the end, I gave up and planned to practice fairy art by myself. On the wood-style volume, there is a record by Senju Hashirama about the method of fairy art practice. After knowing this method, Miyamoto will naturally not go to the Webbone Forest. On the shore, Hinata, who had just completed a sea-level task, looked at Miyamoto on the water with tenderness in her eyes. She likes the feeling of watching Miyamoto become stronger. Although she feels that she can't help Miyamoto more and more, Hinata is still happy. It is always a pleasure to do missions with Miyamoto. During this time, perhaps because of knowing Miyamoto's character or out of caring for his juniors, even though Konoha is short of manpower, Tsunade still has no plans to let Miyamoto perform high-level tasks. So other Jonins, including Kurenai Yuhi, have been quite busy during this period, but Miyamoto is still in the same state as before. Miyamoto never asked for a mission, and Tsunade did not intend to ask Miyamoto to do a mission. On the contrary, the 8th class is the most leisurely. Such days have lasted for more than a month, and within this month, Miyamoto's copy opportunities have resumed 3 times. It is impossible to practice immortality for a while, so Miyamoto stopped practicing and returned to the shore. How is it? Feel the natural chakra, Miyamoto-kun. Handing Miyamoto a water glass, Hinata asked. Hinata knew that Miyamoto practiced celestial arts, and Miyamoto did not hide from Hinata. Shaking his head, Miyamoto had some helpless openings. Without auxiliary means, it will take at least half a year to cultivate successfully. When he really started to practice, Miyamoto realized that it is really quite difficult to practice celestial arts independently. It can be seen from this that the existence of the 3 holy places is not without the capital of their existence. In the original book, with the help of toad oil, Naruto can easily sense the natural chakra, saving a lot of effort. According to the method of wood style, Miyamoto can complete the perfect sage mode, and it is the kind that advances in seconds. But it takes a considerable amount of time in the early stage. It's not that Miyamoto can't sense it, but it's hard to absorb. Sensing is one thing, absorbing is another, and Miyamoto is now in a state of preliminary sensing. Hinata. After Miyamoto took a sip of water, he looked at Hinata and suddenly smirked. Let me touch. Miyamoto's words made Hinata look stunned, recalling the scene of the first meeting between himself and Miyamoto in his mind, blushing. While speaking, Hinata lowered her head slightly and put her little head in front of Miyamoto. However, the next moment, Hinata felt a big gentle hand holding her big white rabbit on top of her peak. Well, Hinata's head is starting to get dizzy, in Miyamoto's mind. Copy selection. Option 1. Blind eyes and blood succession limit. Choice 2. 8 trigrams revolving heaven. Choice 3. 8 trigrams empty palm. Seeing this option, Miyamoto smiled slightly, without any hesitation. I choose 1, white eyes and blood follow the limit. After the selection was completed, Miyamoto's eyes suddenly felt cool and comfortable. Involuntarily closing his eyes, Miyamoto showed enjoyment. Touching Hinata's European style with one hand, while showing enjoyment of the color, no matter how you look at it, there are some senses that are not suitable for children. After a long time, when Hinata felt that she was about to faint with shame. Miyamoto-kun. Is it okay? Too shy. Miyamoto was brought back to his senses by Hinata's voice, turned his head to look at Hinata who was circling in his eyes, froze for a moment, and withdrew his hand. After Hinata recovered a bit, Miyamoto put his arms around Hinata and said with a smirk. Hinata. You can't go on like this. Hinata, blushing, looked up at Miyamoto in bewilderment. With a wicked smile, Miyamoto approached Hinata. In the future, what if you faint in the bridal chamber? Well, I thought it was an important thing, but I didn't expect that what Miyamoto said was this. Hinata's face turned redder, and then her little head tilted. Fainted. Holding Hinata in his arms, Miyamoto shook his head, didn't say anything, and glanced at Hinata's oppa involuntarily. Future E. It's just mine, he. The eyes of Hyuga's family. After getting it, Miyamoto began to ponder. Tensigen. The power of Baiin's insight and perception is indeed powerful, but Miyamoto's Kagura mind is not bad. Regarding the function of Baiin, Miyamoto is not unusual. However, Miyamoto is very rare if Tensigen has evolved from white eyes. This is the same level of eyes as Rinnegan. With Tensigen, Miyamoto is almost certain to be invincible to the end. Even infinite Tsukuyomi, he has the confidence to resist it. Similarly, Miyamoto's plan is to resurrect Kaguya-ji, and then copy Kaguya's power, but this also requires strength. You can't even get close. How do you copy it? Tensigen's plan. Miyamoto's plan is like this. Of course Tensigen is not the only plan of Miyamoto. Rinnegan, to be precise, is Guyu Rinnegan, Miyamoto's second scheme. It's just that it's too early for Guyu Rinnegan to start, but you can plan Tensigen first. Tensigen seems to be simpler than Goyu Rinnegan needs the help of Sage of Six Paths. Chapter 45 Sasuke defected 2 quarters after returning from the back mountain. Hinata has to go home today because Hyuga's family has something to do. According to the Tensigen's bug-filled setting, there are 2 types of Tensigen. The first is the Tensigen formed by the fusion of white eyes, and the other is the Tensigen opened by combining the high-purity white eyes of the Hyuga family with the blood of the Ōtsutsuki family and Chakra. Walking on the road, Miyamoto frowned in thought, and looked up at the moon. The Chakra of the Ōtsutsuki clan. Don't worry about the bloodline. After all, the Senju Uzumaki clan plus the Uchiha clan plus the current Hyuga clan, Miyamoto's bloodline is close to that of Ōtsutsuki. The problem is Chakra. Looking away, Miyamoto walked towards his home. At present, he has no plan to go to the moon. There are 2 chakras of the Ōtsutsuki clan, among the Konohas. On Uchiha Sasuke and Uzumaki Naruto, the chakra of Indra and Ashura that did not come out at the beginning, these 2 people, as direct descendants of Ōtsutsuki Hagoromo, the purity of their chakra is definitely better than that on the moon, and has been passed down for N generations. Ōtsutsuki Tonaris is much better. Ashura Chakra on Naruto is more helpful to me, so I chose him. After making up his mind, Miyamoto glanced at the full moon in the sky, returned home, and went straight to sleep. Ashura Chakra, in theory, has much more benefits to Miyamoto's wood style, so Miyamoto chooses Ashura Chakra. As for why Ashura's Chakra was not copied before, the reason is simple. Haven't brushed it out yet, because there is not much need. Ashura Chakra on Uzumaki Naruto, Miyamoto only saw this copy option after the two graduated, probably because the fate of Indra and Ashura has already started to rotate, so the chakra of both can be refreshed. In the next half a month, Miyamoto took the 8th class to continue to do 2 C-level tasks. The last task had just been completed, and when he returned to the village, he received a summons from Anbu. Tsunade had an important matter with the 8th class matter. Just rushed to Hokage's office, Tsunade looked serious the moment he saw Miyamoto. Musashi, there's a big problem. According to information from Squad 7 member Haruno Sakura and Azumoko Tetsu, Uchiha Sasuke defected a day ago. Orochimaru has already brought the 10th class and Naruto, Neji to chase. But I'm worried. Hearing this news, Miyamoto was slightly taken aback, and a divine light flashed in his eyes. I understand, I will immediately take the 8th squad to the reinforcements. Nodding, after Tsunade agreed to Miyamoto's request, a cold light flashed in his eyes. No, Musashi, you have to do this mission yourself. If you can't bring it back, if you have a chance. Although Tsunade didn't explain it clearly, but Miyamoto understood Tsunade's meaning. If you can't bring it back, you will kill Uchiha Sasuke if you have the opportunity. After nodding in agreement, Miyamoto said, I see, after half an hour, I will leave on time. After speaking, Miyamoto immediately left Hokage's office. After splitting 2 shadow clones and going to inform Inuzuka Ya and Aburame Shino to be on standby, Miyamoto headed towards Hyuga's house. I didn't expect that this time has already come. It seems that it won't be long before I should take Hinata out to practice. With such thoughts in mind, Miyamoto has come to Hyuga's house. Half an hour later, Miyamoto rushed directly out of Konoha's gate at an extremely fast speed. Miyamoto can only remember a general idea of the plot, but Miyamoto is not very clear about the details. Although Miyamoto's speed was very fast, he started a day late after all. Along the way, Miyamoto, who opened his own Kagura mind, quickly chased towards the mark left by Orochimaru without stopping. A day later, swish, Miyamoto's figure landed on Akamichi Choji, who was unconscious and his breath was getting weaker and weaker. Miyamoto frowned. On the way, he saw the medical team led by Shizune, but there was still a little distance from here. If you don't pay attention, there may be only one corpse left when the medical team arrives. Wood-style wood clone made a seal at random, and a piece of wood grew out of Miyamoto's side, which became his appearance, looking at his wood clone. Protect his heart and wait for the arrival of the medical class, please. Wood clone is no nonsense, straight to use medical ninjutsu, full of vitality chakra, maintain Akamichi Choji. Miyamoto glanced at it, then turned around and continued to chase forward. Kagura's eyes are open, and so are the white eyes. Now that there is no one, Miyamoto is not worried about this problem at all. Not long after moving forward, a large group of irritable chakras suddenly appeared in Miyamoto's perception, moving quickly. This feeling of chakra is the same as the chakra of 9 tails that Miyamoto felt on Uzumaki Naruto before, a feeling of. It's just that Uzumaki Naruto's seal is perfect, so nothing has been leaked. But this chakra, although it seems to be imprisoned, but this method does not feel very good. Miyamoto quickly caught up with this chakra. As Miyamoto expected, it was a person from Sand Shinobi Village. Gaara, Temari, and Konkuro. Stab it, a flash of thunder galloped, and Miyamoto's figure passed the 3 of Gaara in an instant and landed in front of them. The sudden appearance of Miyamoto made the 3 of Gaara vigilant for a moment, stopped abruptly, and looked at Miyamoto. It's him. Temari's memory is particularly deep. After seeing Miyamoto's appearance, he looked nervous. Konkuro looked at Miyamoto with cold sweat streaming down his face. With such a strong person, there is no need to ask us for help, right? Konoha collapse plan. Although Miyamoto did not participate in the battle between 3rd generation and Orochimaru, but almost by himself, he suppressed the strength of Sand Shinobi Village and Yinin Village, which has attracted widespread attention. Especially Sand Shinobi Village, Konoha's 3-color team leader, Senior Miyamoto. After pondering for a moment, Gaara greeted her. Miyamoto looked directly at Gaara's body, and the spiritual power directly pulled Gaara's spirit into Gaara's body. While Gaara was still in a daze, Miyamoto looked at the huge tanuki with violet patterns that was simply imprisoned in Gaara's body. This is One Tail. Shukaku? Chapter 46 One Tail guarding the crane 3/4. Chapter 46 With a plump body, cross-star eyes in the black eyeballs, and mysterious violet lines, Miyamoto's gaze sank. Is this the One-Tail Shrine Crane, one of the 9-tailed beasts left by Sage of 6 Paths? This chakra. Quite a huge chakra. Miyamoto's face was dignified. One-Tail Shukura, in terms of chakra alone, should be the weakest of the 9-tailed beasts, but just for the weakest Shukura, the amount of chakra is at least 10 times that of Miyamoto. Miyamoto's current chakra volume can definitely be called a monster level. The sudden appearance of Miyamoto made Shuzuru, who was originally quiet, suddenly look irritable and hostile, but more of a rather vigilant look at Miyamoto. Human. Who are you? A pair of eyes directly ignored Jinchuriki's Gaara, and Shukaku stared directly at Miyamoto. On Miyamoto's body, Shukaku felt a terrifying oppressive force, and the tail beast's intuition told it. Miyamoto in front of him has the power to kill it, so it is not easy to provoke Miyamoto. Otherwise, with Shohei's violent temper, he would have already spoken out loudly. Gaara reacted, looked at Miyamoto in shock, and then looked serious. Miyamoto-senpai, do you know this monster? Hearing Gaara's words, Miyamoto nodded slightly. Not only do I know it, I also know what's inside Naruto, and other people and monsters like you, and how they were born. Having said that, after Miyamoto took a deep look at Shuzuru, his mental power directly left the sealed space in Gaara's body. Miyamoto is not a Jinchuriki, and naturally he doesn't want to have a good relationship with a tailed beast. On this point, Miyamoto thinks quite openly. The tailed beast has only one real role for Miyamoto, helping him stand at the top of the ninja world. Outside, Miyamoto recovered and looked at Gaara, who also recovered, and the slightly reserved Temari and Kankuro beside him. Why are you here? Asking the question knowingly, Miyamoto just needs 3 people to give himself an answer. Although Temari was a little afraid of Miyamoto, he still calmed down. After all, San Shinobi Village and Konoha are now friendly. 5th Hokage of Konoha, ask for help from our Sannin. Temari said something, with embarrassment on his face. Konoha's current situation is more or less due to our Sand Ninja Village, so it should be taken for granted that we should help. The eyes fell on Temari, quite oppressive, and Miyamoto saw sweat on Temari's forehead. After feeling Temari's weirdness, Miyamoto shook his eyebrows. Keep up. Swish. When Miyamoto's voice fell, his body had already left in an instant. Gaara was expressionless, but a trace of doubt and thought flashed in his eyes. When Miyamoto was in his body just now. Gaara can clearly see Shohei's performance, and there is absolutely nothing wrong with that uncharacteristic fear. Not much to say, the 3 of Gaara caught up with Miyamoto's figure in an instant. Since they came to rescue, it is naturally impossible to give up halfway. At least they will not be considered as the end of the mission until they return to Konoha. Call out. Call out. Call out. Call out. 4 figures fell from the tree and came to the side of Hyuga Neji, who was already lying in a pool of blood. Miyamoto reached out and probed Hyuga Neji's nose, breathing weakly. Wood clone technique. Without taboo, Miyamoto directly used wood clone, which is better than shadow clone. As soon as wood clone appeared, he used healing ninjutsu directly to protect Hyuga Neji's heart, and chakra full of vitality maintained Hyuga Neji's life. It shouldn't be a problem to persist until the arrival of the medical class. After doing all this, Miyamoto glanced at the 3 of Gaara and said, keep chasing. The 3 followed behind Miyamoto. Temari and Kankuro looked at each other with surprise in their eyes, not knowing what to say. The clone just now, with that appearance, should be the legendary wood style, right? Absolutely yes. What kind of existence is this person, who actually has the wood style blood successor limit? Isn't that the strongest blood successor limit for first Hokage to quell the troubled times? And not only is it very powerful in combat, but medical ninjutsu is also very powerful, and it also has a huge perception. This person is obviously not much different in age from the 3 of us, so why is he so outstanding? Especially wood style. Temari didn't dare to think deeply. If Miyamoto grows up, wouldn't he be the second ninja god? No. Looking at Miyamoto's back, Temari suddenly found a problem. Miyamoto has grown up long ago. After walking for a while, Miyamoto suddenly spoke. 3 kilometers to the east from here, we need support, who will go? Miyamoto's words made the 3 of Gaara stunned at the same time, but Kankuro, who reacted the next moment, left the team directly. Give it to me. Miyamoto frowned slightly. This time, due to some minor reasons, Inuzuka was not in the team, but was replaced by Yamanaka Ino. Miyamoto is not very clear about who is there, but there are 3 chakras, which should be close to each other. No matter who among the people who came to chase, who faced the left and right, it would not be that simple. Miyamoto prefers Nara Shikamaru to stay, because he can resist a little bit, and if it is Yamanaka Ino, it should be a disaster. At any rate, facing Tayuya's illusion, Yamanaka Ino was able to persist for a while with the advantage of his own family's secret art, but it was impossible to face a master of physical skills like Zuo Jin Yujin. After a while, Miyamoto spoke again, 2 kilometers to the northwest. Swish. The figure of Temari left quickly in an instant, left in the direction Miyamoto said, and disappeared in an instant. The 2 slower guys left. Miyamoto showed his speed without hesitation. Gaara also strengthened his chakra to keep up with Miyamoto's speed. Without Temari and Kankuro, Miyamoto and Gaara soon came to a small grassland, which was quite close to the Valley of the End. And when the 2 came here, they saw that Xiao Li was fighting with a sick but quite powerful man, but he was unilaterally hanged and beaten. Kaguya Kimimaro, the last member of the Wei Yoruichi tribe. The moment he saw him, Miyamoto spoke directly. Naruto's side is handed over to you. You should be able to understand each other. I will follow after I solve him. The moment he finished speaking, Miyamoto's body flicker technique was activated, and he charged towards Kimimaro, pulling out the tachi on his back in an instant. Clang. The moment the bone blade and the taidao intersected, the huge force directly made Kimimaro fly back, and looked solemnly at Miyamoto, who suddenly appeared. The existence that must be stopped by the pocket reminder. Is it finally here? Miyamoto Musashi? Chapter 47 Miyamoto's Mangekyo Pupil Art 4 Quarters Chapter 47. Raising the bone blade in his hand, Kimimaro exuded a completely different aura when fighting Xiao Li. The seal of the Earth's curse directly changed the skin color of the body, and the curse had already covered the whole body. Directly opened the second spell seal state, Kimimaro is risking his life to stop Miyamoto. Li, stay away. Miyamoto's face became serious, and he reminded Xiao Li, who was preparing to join the war beside him. Now this situation is beyond your control. Xiao Li nodded solemnly, and instantly retreated into the forest. Mr. Guy is right, Mr. Miyamoto is indeed terrifyingly strong. Looking at Miyamoto seriously, Xiao Li is very focused. It is quite rare for such a strong person to fight. Ignoring Xiao Li, Miyamoto looked at Kimimaro in front of him. Whoosh! 10 bullet-like phalanxes were fired at Miyamoto at breakneck speed, followed by Kimimaro. Your ninjutsu is very powerful, I can't give you a chance to use it. Facing Kimimaro's attack, Miyamoto didn't panic and put one hand on the ground. Earth-style Earth Flow Wall. A move of Earth-style blocked Kimimaro's attack, and Miyamoto left in an instant. Boom! Without incident, the Earth Flow Wall was directly pushed away by Kimimaro. Miyamoto was in the air, and the seal was completed. Sorry, I won't give up my advantage, Fire-style Impatience technique. A ball of fire sprayed towards Kimimaro, and Miyamoto hit Kimimaro, planning to use ninjutsu from the beginning. Don't run away. Kimimaro's eyes were solemn, and he turned on the second state of the spell, and his speed was quite fast. Chakra poured violently on the soles of his feet, and his speed increased sharply. While dodging the attack quickly, Kimimaro has already caught up with Miyamoto's figure in an explosion. Tsubaki Dance. The attack of the bone blade was so fast that Miyamoto had to activate the 3-tomo Sharingan to resist, and the sword in his hand kept colliding with the bone blade, bursting out bursts of sparks. Physical ninjas are really hard to deal with when they get close. After blocking the Tsubaki Dance, Miyamoto directly launched the ultimate body flicker technique developed by himself. Lightning-style lightning instant. Stab it. After a flash of thunder, Miyamoto's figure moved away again, and his hands formed seals. Fire-style Fire Dragon Flame Bomb. Fire Dragon Flame Bullets attack was fired. Miyamoto looked at the opposite side. Kimimaro in the second curse mark state. The defense is quite strong. The bones on the arm directly formed a bone shield. After blocking the next blow, there were burn marks on his body. Kimimaro's face was serious, and he took a slight breath. Very strong. His speed is too fast. I can't keep up with him, so I need to distance myself and use ninjutsu to suppress him. This guy is much stronger than that fourth case gauge. Putting down the bone blade in his hand, Kimimaro's face was solemn, and his hands were sealed. However, I must keep you today. Sasuke-kun will never let you pass until Mr. Orochimaru arrives. I can only use that trick. Such beings passed, Kimimaro believed, and Sasuke was either brought back or died. Miyamoto frowned upon hearing Kimimaro's words full of death wish. His strength is far above that of Kimimaro. Even in Kimimaro's heyday, he was cage level. The all-round Miyamoto didn't worry at all. But in a desperate state, no one can underestimate it. Miyamoto Musashi, this is the end of your life. After gathering chakra, Kimimaro looked at Miyamoto. Finally, the dance of the early fern. With his pupils shrunk, Miyamoto looked at Kimimaro with a serious expression on his face. Just right. Try my Mangekyo Sharingan pupil technique. Looking at the sharp bones constantly emerging from the soil, they spread to Miyamoto's face almost instantly. Eye sockets closed and opened. Mangekyo Sharingan has been opened. Doubling, lightning-style Chidori Stream. The alternative absolute defensive lightning-style ninjutsu, developed by Miyamoto, can be classified as an A-level ninjutsu. Mangekyo Sharingan's pupil power flowed, and Miyamoto only felt that after a moment of weakness in his right eye, the Chidori flow all over his body rioted wildly, and the power soared. Miyamoto looked at the bone forest coming over. Stab it. The terrifying thunder light enveloped Miyamoto, and Miyamoto's voice could no longer be seen, just like a ball of thunder. Everything around the thunderball has been ground into fine powder by the terrifying lightning, emitting a scorching smell. Standing on the edge of the battlefield, Xiao Li, who was not affected, looked stunned. Looking at the direction of the thunderball, he opened his mouth involuntarily. Is this the lightning style Mr. Miyamoto is best at? This level of lightning style has never been seen before. After Xiao Li was stunned, he looked in the direction of Miyamoto with a worried face. Although Miyamoto's lightning style is powerful, this bone forest doesn't look so simple. Mr. Miyamoto. Seeing that the bone forest had stopped fluctuating, Xiao Li hesitated for a moment, then ran around the bone forest and headed in the direction where Miyamoto was. Chidori flow spread out, and the thunder light also dissipated. Miyamoto's figure appeared intact near the center of the bone forest. it can be seen that Miyamoto's surroundings were all scorched black. Although the dance of the early fern is quite powerful in terms of area and attack power, Miyamoto's Chidori style is still defending steadily. Miyamoto Musashi. It's over. Kimimara's extremely weak body suddenly appeared behind Miyamoto, and a long bone knife pierced towards Miyamoto's heart, fast and ruthless. With a slight hook of the finger, Miyamoto's hand flashed with lightning. Lightning-style Chidori sharp gun. The reverse Chidori sharp gun directly pierced Kimimara's head, blocking Kimimara's attack. Turning his head to look at Kimimaro, who was no longer breathing, Miyamoto heaved a sigh of relief. In the original book, he was beaten so badly that Kimimaro almost killed Gaara. Naturally, it was impossible for Miyamoto not to pay attention. When he sensed a wave of Chuck coming behind him, he did it directly. After finishing Kimimaro, Miyamoto touched his eyes involuntarily. The right eye felt tired, but at the same time, there was a trace of vitality in the right eye. The roll of sage body. Glancing around, Miyamoto squeezed his hands slightly. This pupil technique is a bit buggy. If it can be applied to anything, Ōtsutsuki Kaguya is also a good one. Mangekyo Sharingan pupil technique residing in Miyamoto's right eye. Amplification. Amplification. All methods of Miyamoto, the intensity of the amplification is determined by the released pupil power. This ability, for Miyamoto, quite easy to use. Chapter 48 Duplicating Ashura Chakra 1/4. Chapter 48. Mr. Miyamoto, are you all right? Xiao Li's figure came to Miyamoto's side, with a worried look on his face, but after taking a look around. It seems to be fine. Glancing at Xiao Li, who was not seriously injured, Miyamoto's figure flickered. Xiao Li, keep up, I have a bad feeling. Hearing Miyamoto's words, Xiao Li's face became serious, and he followed Miyamoto's figure directly. The two stepped on the bone forest in an instant, and headed directly towards the Valley of the End. Valley of the End, ha ha ha. I didn't expect that your strength is so strong. Gaara was panting, with a solemn face, and looked at the direction blocking the pursuit. Yakushi Kabuto. Behind Gaara, Uzumaki Naruto has fallen to the ground, and the clothes on his shoulders have been pierced. Judging from the wound, he should have been hit by Chidori and pierced his shoulder. Gaara-kun. Long time no see. Yakushi Kabuto looks a bit embarrassed. Facing a ninja like Gaara, Yakushi Kabuto is actually more difficult to fight, but in general, Yakushi Kabuto can be regarded as an elite Jonin-level existence. Gaara-kun, the current Sasuke-kun has left, and you can't catch up. How about giving up this mission? Otherwise, you may have an accident. For Yakushi Kabuto, Gaara had to think seriously. It is indeed quite irrational to fight against a strong man like Yakushi Kabuto when Uzumaki Naruto is already unconscious. Most importantly, the current terrain is really not good for him. Under the great waterfall in the Valley of the End, there is water everywhere, which has more or less affected Gaara's combat power. Pocket. After pondering for a moment, Gaara looked at Yakushi Kabuto. It shouldn't be me who is in a hurry, but you. My mission is just to bring back Naruto. Uchiha Sasuke, it's not my responsibility. Gaara's words made Yakushi Kabuto frown, and looked at Gaara seriously. It's not your responsibility, then. Before he finished speaking, Yakushi Kabuto's face suddenly changed drastically. Where he was standing, tree roots came out of the ground and strangled together. Yakushi Kabuto jumped to one side, and at the same time made a mudra with both hands. Water-style water dragon bomb technique. The moment the water dragon was formed, it directly rushed towards Gaara. When Gaara raised his hand and was about to block Yakushi Kabuto's attack, Xiao Li and Miyamoto's figures appeared instantly, blocking Gaara's face, and opened their mouths at the same time. Fire-style fire dragon flame bomb. Boom. The water dragon and fire dragon bombs attacked each other, and countless water vapors were generated immediately. Frowning, Miyamoto shot again, wind-style breakthrough. The strong wind pressure not only blows away the water vapor, but also hits the predicted position of Yakushi Kabuto just now. Boom. Wind-style exploded on the surface of the water. Yakushi Kabuto's silhouette disappeared. Miyamoto couldn't help frowning, his perception radiated out, and he had already fled. Yakushi Kabuto didn't like to fight, and Miyamoto didn't want to kill him. Turning around and looking at Gaara, who was slightly embarrassed, Miyamoto said, "Are you okay? Jinchuriki's recovery ability is quite good." After Gaara took a short rest, he just played against Yakushi Kabuto and suffered a small injury, which is not a big deal. Shaking his head, Gaara moved his hand, a ball of sand holding Uzumaki Naruto, put his body in front of Miyamoto, and explained. When I came, he was almost unable to bear it. Seeing Uzumaki Naruto like this, Miyamoto frowned, checked Naruto's wound a little, and it has begun to heal. The power of 9 tails combined with the recovery power of Sage Body is indeed quite terrifying. Casually put the unconscious Uzumaki Naruto on his back, Miyamoto left instantly. Gaara and Xiao Li looked at Uzumaki Naruto worriedly, and followed Miyamoto. The 4 of Miyamoto returned quickly, and met the follow-up medical team along the way. The other injured Xiaoqiangs had already returned to Konoha quickly. Among the people who came to support, Miyamoto saw Yamanaka Ino, Temari, and Kankuro. You don't need to ask Miyamoto to know. Nara Shikamaru should be against the right and left, and Yamanaka Ino should be against Tsukuyomi of the illusion department. After glancing at the three of them, Miyamoto handed Uzumaki Naruto to the medical team, copied the newly refreshed Ashura Chakra casually, and announced the end of the mission. On the way back to Konoha, no one spoke. Miyamoto was out of character, while others had their own thoughts. As if to set off the atmosphere, in the sky, at some point, it started to rain, and it was getting bigger and bigger. Uchiha Sasuke's defection. It has become an established fact, and this incident will become an important turning point for Konoha's new generation to begin to change their mentality. Back to Konoha, the medical class took Naruto to the hospital. Miyamoto already knew about Tsunade, and after starting to treat Akamichi Choji who was in danger of life, Miyamoto returned to his home. As soon as he returned to his small yard, Miyamoto saw that the lights in his house were on, and he couldn't help feeling warm in his heart. "I'm back." Miyamoto opened the door and walked in with a smile on his face. The figure of Yuhi Hong appeared in Miyamoto's eyes. Hong, who was wearing home clothes, was quite good-looking, and Miyamoto was taken aback. With a slightly ruddy smile on her face, Yuhi Hong came to Miyamoto's side. "There seems to be something wrong at Hyuga's house. Hinata won't be coming back tonight. I just finished my mission. I'll take care of Miyamoto-kun tonight." Hearing Kurenai Yuhi's words, Miyamoto smiled slightly. "Red. So pretty." After saying this, Miyamoto walked in with the help of Kurenai Yuhi. It can be seen that his two women are quite virtuous. In the bathroom, Miyamoto lay in the bathtub, eyes slightly closed, perceiving the situation in his body. Ashura's chakra has been copied, but there is no change in his body. Even if it is the same as before, there is no feeling of adding a part of chakra. It was indeed copied, but there was no response. Miyamoto frowned. As I expected, Ashura and Indra's chakra, even if copied, without certain opening conditions, still won't work. He smiled helplessly, and didn't care too much. Since it doesn't work here, then we can only wait. Don't worry too much about Tensigan. After all, his strength is still rising steadily. The Sage Body and Beian Shueji of the Senju family have not yet fully integrated. Click. While Miyamoto was thinking about something, the bathroom door suddenly opened. With a seductive rosy face, Yuhi Hong, who was just wrapped in a bath towel, appeared at the door and walked towards Miyamoto. There was some reaction in an instant. Miyamoto blushed. "This. Nice." Chapter 49 Traveling from the village 2 quarters. Chapter 49 Time flies, and in the blink of an eye, it has been 2.5 months since Uchiha Sasuke defected. In the past 2.5 months, Konoha did not have any major events, but Uchiha Sasuke's influence on the younger generation is quite huge. Nara Shikamaru was seriously injured, and after recovering, she was depressed for a while, but with the comfort of all Shaokyang, she finally recovered. However, in comparison, Miyamoto can be sure that the current Nara Shikamaru has truly grown up. Another big change. Uzumaki Naruto. Aware of his lack of strength, while training himself frantically, he also tried his best to find traces of Uchiha Sasuke. For this reason, he even asked Miyamoto's 8th team to find the micro-scent worm. During this process, with the help of Miyamoto, Hinata developed her guard the 8 trigrams 64 palms, and during this process, Miyamoto finally saw that the growth of the new generation of Konoha, Uzumaki Naruto, is worthy of being a person with the halo of the protagonist, but the growth of strength is fast. In the past 2 months, despite Uzumaki Naruto's impulsive personality, he has some stupid looks, but his pure strength is still quite powerful, and the guarantee is estimated to be an elite-level Chunin. Although impulsive, Uzumaki Naruto is a real fighting genius. His combat intelligence is really quite unexpected. During this period of time, several Shaokyang classes met frequently to strengthen their relationship. The 7th class, the 8th class, the 10th class, and the 3rd Gai class almost all take turns to treat guests. The friendship of the new generation has begun to sprout. Miyamoto looked at these changes, and suddenly understood something. Why did Uchiha Sasuke say he wanted to be Hokage during the 4th Ninja World War? He was so hostile by the new generation Shaokyang at that time. I also understand why Uchiha Sasuke couldn't stay in Konoha. Because of Uchiha Sasuke's bondage, it is limited to the 7th class. In the past 2.5 months, Miyamoto's strength has risen steadily. Because of the gradual development of Sage Body, he has already touched the bottleneck of Cage level. Fighting with wood style should be able to beat Cage level. Sage mode, I can start to take in a small amount of natural chakra, but very little, only a little bit, can't reach the balance, can't make the face of Sage mode. Regardless of whether Sage mode is completed, or the power of Sage Body is fully developed, Miyamoto's strength can reach the level below 6 paths, beyond the Shadow level, which is the so-called Super Shadow level. The Uchiha Madara of Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan should be the Super Shadow level, and the Rinnegan Uchiha Madara should be the Pseudo 6 paths. Miyamoto wants to reach the Pseudo 6 paths level, either with Rinnegan or Tensigan. With my own wood style, coupled with the enhanced pupil technique, the combat power should be able to reach my own Pseudo 6 paths. Put down the pen, and wrote down the analysis and inference of his current strength in his small notebook. Miyamoto was slightly satisfied. The gale wind is born again, my strength should be able to develop to Chaoing. Hey. Don't worry about it. After thinking about it for a while, Miyamoto closed the notebook, made a seal, and sealed it in a spell on his wrist. Although other people may not be able to understand it, it is best to be careful. Rubbing his own neck, Miyamoto looked to his side. Hinata, who was reading a book quietly, thinking of Kurenai Yuhi in his mind. A smile appeared on Miyamoto's face. Miyamoto-kun. Are you done? Hearing Miyamoto's laughter, Hinata closed the book and spoke in confusion. Nodding, Miyamoto reached out and scratched Hinata's nose. Well, it's over. Hinata, after the 4th Ninja War, we will get married. Another 3 months passed, and during these 3 months, Uzumaki Naruto of the 7th class, followed Toad Sage Jiraiya, one of the Sonin, left the village to travel and practice. Miyamoto didn't know the news until later. Miyamoto didn't know the specific time when Uzumaki Naruto came back, but it was at least 2 years later. During the 2 years, Miyamoto does not plan to take the 8th team to do those small tasks anymore, because these tasks have little effect on Miyamoto's plan to improve Hinata. Similarly, Aburame Shino and Inuzuka teeth, it is estimated that the improvement will not be too large, so. Hokage office. Tsunade looked serious, looking at Miyamoto and the 3 of the 8th class in front of him. That's it. Now that you have made your decision, I agree. Class 8, temporarily disbanded. I will arrange the follow-up of Aburame Shino and Inuzuka Kiba. Musashi, Hinata. Remember to return safely. Miyamoto glanced at the obedient Hinata beside him, and smiled on his usual indifferent face. Well, yes, we will rush back to the village before Akatsuki's action. Miyamoto's decision is to temporarily disband Class 8 and take Hinata out of the village to parade to improve Hinata's strength and at the same time see if he can find a safe way to evolve Hinata's white eyes. Even if it can't evolve, at least let Hinata's strength reach cage level. After all, there will inevitably be some accidents in the 4th Ninja World War. In Miyamoto's mind, there are many boxing techniques that are suitable for Hinata. After Miyamoto got supercilious, he has tried it in private, so it is not a problem. After leaving the Hokage building, Miyamoto glanced at Aburame Shino and Inuzuka Tooth, who hesitated to speak, then looked at Hinata, who was looking forward, and nodded with a smile. Go. Let's meet at the entrance of the village tomorrow. Watching Hinata leave, Miyamoto also turned and left. Among other things, with the relationship between Miyamoto and Anko, it is naturally impossible to leave quietly like this. Most importantly, Yuhihong. It's a bit biased, Miyamoto-kun. I only took Hinata to the world of 2 people. I really want to be with Miyamoto-kun forever. After coming out of the izakaya, Kakashi, Anko and several Jonin who were familiar with Miyamoto all left, leaving Miyamoto to send the obviously drunk and angry Kurenai home. Hearing Yuhihong's words, Miyamoto felt a little helpless, looking at the slightly drunk Yuhihong. It's not because of the 2-person world. But because Hinata's strength is too weak compared to Hong. If it's red, I don't need to worry too much. A smile appeared on Miyamoto's face. Kurenai Yuhi really doesn't need Miyamoto to worry anymore. After all, she is already quite close to Cage. I don't care. Miyamoto-kun is just going too far. But women are unreasonable, and the same is true of drunken Shihahong. Reluctantly holding Yuhihong and walking towards her house, after Miyamoto went in, this night. The flower path has never been swept by guests, but now the door is open for the king. The morning sun reflected into Shihahong's home from the window. She was wrapped in a sheet, and when Shihahong came out of the bedroom with a bit of a weird gait, it was already late. His face was blushing, thinking of the embarrassing incident last night. Yuhi blushed with both happiness and embarrassment. When she came to the living room, she saw the 2 scrolls on the coffee table and Miyamoto's message. Kurini Yuhi smiled, and sat down to read the letter left by Miyamoto. After reading it for a long time, Yuhihong looked at the scroll in her hand in disbelief. 100 Healings Mark, Baihao Technique in Sage Mode? Chapter 50 The Mission of the Kingdom of Ghosts 3/4. Chapter 50. That's how it feels, there's nothing wrong with it. The 2 figures staggered each other, attacking and defending each other very fast, almost in the blink of an eye. They had already fought several times. The 2 people who fought against each other, Miyamoto and Hinata, have been traveling away from Konoha for about a year. During this year, Miyamoto took Hinata to many places, but in general, this year is mainly about playing, and the strength is second. However, a month ago, the play trip was over, and the improvement of strength began. Hinata, are you ready? Miyamoto's face was serious, and after a reminder, Miyamoto's eyes were fixed, and he made a seal with one hand. Lightning-style Chidori Shuriken. Stab it. Stab it. A considerable amount of lightning-style chakra condensed shurikens were condensed in front of him. Whizzing. Miyamoto waved his finger at Hinata, and Chidori Shuriken immediately flew towards Hinata, flying at an extremely fast speed. This move is definitely not so easy to follow. But since Miyamoto dared to use it, Hinata has the ability to catch this move. His eyes are serious, his white eyes are already opened, and he looks at his whole body at 360 degrees without any dead angle, looking at the attacking lightning-style shuriken. Guard Gentle Fist Tai Chi 32 palms. With a shadow of Tai Chi, Hinata's hand quickly struck out 32 palms, and at the same time, a soft force driven by chakra formed a small defensive circle in the shape of half a Tai Chi yin-yang fish. Bang bang bang. Without exception, all Chidori shurikens were caught. After all the shurikens were received, the half of the defensive circle slowly dissipated. Hinata breathed a sigh of relief, and looked at Miyamoto with surprise. Miyamoto-kun. Did I succeed? Hearing Hinata's words, Miyamoto nodded and shook his head again. Successful, but only half successful. Next, our task is to develop this trick to replace revolving heaven. After hearing Miyamoto's words, Hinata nodded seriously, with a serious face. I will. Miyamoto-kun. In the evening, Miyamoto and Hinata were having dinner. Boom. 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 Miyamoto's eyes suddenly swelled, and the sound like a heartbeat echoed in Miyamoto's mind. Covering his eyes suddenly, Miyamoto gasped. Miyamoto-kun. What's wrong? Are you okay? With a worried face, Hinata came to Miyamoto and looked at him anxiously. Miyamoto-kun. Raising his hand, he signaled Hinata not to worry. Miyamoto took off his contact lenses, revealing the ice blue eyes in his eyes. When he saw these eyes, Hinata felt shocked and felt a little pressure at the same time. From the pressure above the eyes, Miyamoto-kun, your eyes. Covering her mouth, Hinata looked into Miyamoto's eyes. Boom. After another sound, the ice blue light in Miyamoto's eyes faded, and the original black pupils returned. This is. Touching his eyes, Miyamoto had a smile on his face. White eyes evolved eyes. Tensagen's fetal movement. The fetal movement is over. I will be able to get a kind of eye that is as terrifying as Rinnegan. Miyamoto's words made Hinata look puzzled, looking into Miyamoto's eyes. White-eyed evolution eyes Tensigen? How is this going? After pondering for a while, Miyamoto took Hinata's hand, and Miyamoto smiled slightly. There are some things I can't explain to you, but there are some things I can tell you. Hinata, what you hear next, don't tell others easily. This is a secret about the Hyuga clan, the Uchiha clan, White Eyes and the Sharingan. Tensagen's fetal movement was beyond Miyamoto's expectation, but it also means that Miyamoto's previous guess, Ashura's chakra and his copied sage body these holidays can indeed complete Tensigen. However, it took a year after that to complete the first fetal movement. From this point of view, it will take a long time for the evolution of Tensigen to be completed. At this stage, it will affect Miyamoto's strength more or less, but it is innocuous. Compared with Tensagen's combat power after gaining, this effect is negligible. As the journey continues, so does the practice. Tensagen's fetal movement will occur once a month, and the fetal movement lasts for a week. After Miyamoto's Tensigen kicks, a year and a half flies by. With long hair reaching to the waist, he was already slim, and Oppai even reached the 91's Hinata astonishingly, holding Miyamoto's hand, followed with a smile on his face, and the two headed in the direction of Konoha. In 2.5 years, Miyamoto and Hinata have changed a lot. Miyamoto's hair has grown long, and it is close to Madara's hairstyle. He is handsome without losing Hoki's face. Girls look at Miyamoto's eyes, and there will be some lewdness of. However, this has no impact on the relationship between Miyamoto and Hinata. Rather, it has a promoting effect. Although the last step has not been carried out, after 3 years, nothing has happened, and no one will believe it. The two were walking. Hey! Suddenly there was a cry of an eagle in the sky. Miyamoto frowned. Hinata beside him raised his arm, and the ninja with a small bamboo slip tied to his foot landed on her hand. Taking down the letter, Hinata turned to look at Miyamoto. Miyamoto-kun, it's a letter from the village. Something happened. Master Tsunade asked for a task temporarily. Do you want to carry it out? Miyamoto frowned and asked. Mission location? Glancing at the letter, Hinata looked to Miyamoto. 2 locations, the Oni country and the Marsh country, Miyamoto-kun. Rubbing his chin, Miyamoto thought about it. There seems to be only one mission about the missions of the Kingdom of Ghosts and the Kingdom of Swamps. The appearance of this task means that Uzumaki Naruto has returned to Konoha in advance? Originally planned to rush back to the village before Uzumaki Naruto, it seems that there should be something wrong with Jiraiya. Rubbing his brows, Miyamoto looked calmly but with an inexplicable feeling in his tone, looking at Hinata. Hinata. Our wedding should be coming soon. This made Hinata blush. Married? Well, glancing at the shy Hinata, Miyamoto raised his hand to destroy the letter, then looked in the direction of the ghost country. Just right, this time I should be able to test how strong I am.